Can you type on your phone and then relate to audio
Don't
problem?
worry, I'll drop a message now. I think. Oh, can everyone hear me now? Let me know if I'm audible now. I should be audible now.
Oh,
I'm audible now. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, beautiful. I hope everybody can hear me and everybody can also see my beautiful face too. It's good afternoon from this place in Lagos, Nigeria, and thank you to everybody who signed up for the Power BI Project Marathon. I'll tell you that we had over 2,000 persons that registered for this program, and I'm looking forward to sharing all of my experience and telling you about or sharing everything I know when it comes to building reports and building projects in Power BI. One of my mantra, and many of my students would know this, is I would make you fall in love with Power BI. So welcome once again, and immediately we're going to dive deep into it. So I know a lot of us have questions, and we are going to be taking all those questions shortly, but we're going to do one little brief exercise while we're still waiting for more numbers, right? So what I want you to do for me right now is leave your name and and your location. A lot of persons have been doing introduction on the group, so I want to see those introduction on the chat box now. So just drop your name. My name is Tina. I'm joining in from Lagos, Nigeria, or wherever you're joining from. I want to know where everybody's joining from before we go into the session. So we're going into the session pretty soon. So let's do that brief exercise. I can see Dumebi. So you're dropping your names, you're not dropping your location. It will be beautiful to know where you're joining from. Okay, thank you, Adebayo. Adebayo joining from Lagos. Ahmed from Lagos. Ifmat from Ibadan. Adewale Emmanuel. I can see Funshaw from Ibadan. We have a lot of Nigerians on this place. Oh, Samuel from UK. Beautiful. India, I can see somebody from India. I can see somebody from Tanzania. I can see somebody from Ghana. This is interesting. Thank you everybody for joining. I'm going to make sure that this is going to be an introductory session, even though we are going to still going to the nitty gritty and some technicalities. And like I mentioned, and like you saw on the flyer, it's a marathon. I'm sure all of us know what a marathon is, right? So we're going to be taking pauses and breaks, but the idea is we're going at a very great speed, and we want to be able to do a lot in a short period of time. So I'm actually looking forward to this session, and without wasting much time, I'll just go ahead and share my slides, tell you a little bit about the session and even why I decided to host this session, and then would get into it immediately. All right. Good afternoon, everyone, once again. My name is Tina Okonkwo, and I'd like to officially welcome everyone to the Power BI Project Marathon Day 1. One of the reasons why I decided to do this was I get asked a lot of questions by mentees, by people in the community, how do I start my first project? Okay, I've learned Excel, I've learned Power BI, I've learned SQL. How do I go about building projects? I'm still confused. And then I thought about, sometimes I tell people, oh, work on business case studies, work on this, work on industry problems. Well, people still don't understand what I'm talking about, and which is what inspired me to actually start this session. I want to sort of tell you when I say work on a business problem or an industry-based solution, this is what I'm talking about. So that is what inspired me to actually create this session, to sort of, guide and hold your hands throughout knowing how to approach building projects, from thinking about a project idea to getting data for that project, down to building that project, the problem statements, the business questions, and so many other things, right? So we're going to be covering all of that in this particular session. So I'm just going to go straight into it. And before that, I would like to do a brief introduction of myself. If you're just hearing this, if you're just meeting me or hearing about my name for the very first time, my name is Tina Okonkwo, and I'm a Microsoft certified data analyst. I have over 3 years experience across several industries. I've worked with oil and gas, I've worked with e-commerce, beauty and health, and currently I'm in sports and entertainment. And I've trained a lot of people on using Power BI, doing data visualization, and also data storytelling. And for me, my goal is to actually share my journey and also share my story and help others transition seamlessly into the field of data analytics. So I'm majorly focused on helping beginners get their foot in the data analytics field. And you can connect with me on Twitter. It's Rita_Tina. It's on LinkedIn, it's Tina Okonkwo, and on YouTube is also at Rita_Tina. So please do well to connect with me on these pages. I'll be sharing the slides with everyone, so you would have access to that. It should be in the drive. I would also pin that. All right, let's talk about our learning objectives today, and then I would talk about I would lay down some ground rules. What we're going to learn throughout the entire course. This is not just for today. Throughout the entire program, we're going to gain hands-on experience. So I'm basically holding your hand and teaching you how to use Power BI to create dynamic and interactive dashboards and reports. I'm also teaching you how to design compelling and appealing visuals, right? You're not just designing dashboards, or you're not just so we are designing compelling visuals that actually communicate your insights effectively. That is what we are going to do. We are also going to learn how to frame business questions, how to use your data to frame business questions, and how to use data to answer them correctly. So another thing we're going to do is, all the projects we are working on here are real world scenarios. So there are things I would explain very well so you understand where I'm coming from. So I'm not explaining from a tutorial. This is more than just a tutorial or a session. I'm simulating a real world experience, and I'm going to teach you how it feels like to be a data analyst in different industry, and how the kind of challenges you would experience in those industries. And what we're going to do is we're going to create four solid Power BI projects that you can put in your portfolio and solidly share or comfortably share with any recruiter and tell them that you built something like this, right? That is something we're going to do. 2 of them would be live sessions, and the other 2 might come pre-recorded depending on how fast we move. Another thing we're going to learn, and I know this is a major problem for many data analysts, we're going to learn how to document our project. So we're not just stopping about building that project. I'm going to teach you how to tell a story with whatever you have done, okay? So that is what we're going to be looking at. Now, before I go deep into the session, I'm going to take a couple of FAQs, then we'll spend 5 minutes to take questions. I'll take questions from the YouTube live before we continue. So first thing first, there will be 4 hours of learning every Saturdays and Sundays. Sorry, I forgot to put that there. It's supposed to be Saturdays and Sundays. 4 hours of learning, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. West African time, with a 5 minutes break or maybe 2 minutes break, depending on how cheerful I feel or how I want you people to rest. There will be a 5 minutes break and also 10 minutes for each question within the hour or within every hour, 30 minutes. We're going to plan how we're going to do that. But I always like to take questions, and I like a very interactive class. So it's not just going to be me speaking. I want to see your comments and your participation. This has been a question that everybody has been asking. Yes, there will be certificate of participation, but it comes with a clause. Now, here is the clause. A lot of people attend sessions, and this is part of the reason I'm also hosting this session. Now, a lot of people just attend courses, attend boot camps and everything just for the certificates. And I'm not about to do that in this session. There are certain rules that you would have satisfied before you get a certification of a certificate of participation. And number one rule, you should complete all the projects we do in this place. Either you are replicating, or you're probably deciding to go via another angle, like maybe customizing it to fit your profile, which will be exactly beautiful, because you want to go do what more than your tutor or more than your instructor. That is number one. You have to have satisfied that. I don't care if you join the live session or if you don't join but it's important to join the live session so you can get the information as it's going as it's on, right? But all sessions will be recorded. So it's whether you attend the live session or you don't, it's not a deal breaker that you won't get your certificate, right? So as long as the number one is you must complete all 4 projects. And the second clause, I'm a big advocate of building in public. So you would talk about the program and talk about what you built. That is the second clause. After this session or after the program, I'm going to be sharing a Google form where you're going to fill in where you posted your project. You're not going to share that project with me. I want to see the project online, all 4 projects that you've built, and then I'll share that link, and then you'd fill it, put the link of all those projects. That is what will determine your certificate. I've already mentioned this one. All sessions will be recorded, so whether you miss out or you would always see it on this YouTube channel. So please subscribe. That is another thing that I want to play. The session is completely free. There's no additional money, or I know a lot of persons are expecting me to come on this call now to come and say, okay, only one this thing and you will pay. No, the session is complete. All distinct sessions are completely free. The payment I want from you is for you to subscribe to this channel so that you would not miss out. Trust me, I'm going to be sharing solid content for the next few months back to back, and you don't want to miss out on that, especially if you're a beginner. Okay, so subscribe to the channel. If you've not done that, you should be doing that now. I have over 2,000 persons or more than 1,000 persons at least on the WhatsApp group, so I should be seeing more than 1,000 subscribers now at least. Next thing you want to do, I want to tell you is that you need to be part of the WhatsApp group, because I'm going to be sharing information there, because sometimes you might watch the recording and you will also have questions, right? So if you're not part of the WhatsApp group, check the chat box now. A link will be dropped there for the WhatsApp group. So if you're not in that WhatsApp group, I know a lot of persons complained that group 1 was full, so please enter group 2. And if you are in group 1 already, please, I'm pleading with you, leave group 2. Just stay in one group so that we can be able to have a lot of people in the other group, so we don't have this thing. Now I'm going to spend the next 5 minutes taking questions before I go into the session, because a lot of persons had questions before the session. So please, if you have questions, now is the time to drop them in the chat box, and I'm going to be looking at those and trying to answer most of those questions. Let me know if you have questions. Okay, beautiful. I can see a couple of questions. Number one, I'll start from the first question I can see here. Is the Power BI service compulsory for this marathon, please? No, it's not compulsory, except you want to publish your reports to the service and get a shareable link. It's not compulsory for this project, but it will be beautiful to actually publish your report to Power BI service so you can get a link that people can actually interact with. Okay, number two question, do we build projects based on the data set you gave us, as in build alongside you? Is that what you mean? Good, this is a very beautiful question. Now, the question I want, the answer to this is, normally I don't share my resources before class, but I'm doing this because I don't want a lot of persons saying, give me the data sets, give me the data sets. That is why I'm sharing the resources. I always like people to listen first, then you can later watch the recordings and try to practice. So please, the project you are building, you are recreating what we are doing in class. That is the essence. If you want to do something outside what we've done in class, maybe you want to go and explore, like use the learnings from this class to work on some, I'll share data sets. I'll share a lot of data sets after this class on different industry that solves like business problem. If you want to do that after this class, fine. But for this class, for your certification of for your certificate of participation, you would need to complete all the projects that we've done in class. The WhatsApp link has been posted on the group chat, so you can check that and also join. For those of you that don't have prior knowledge of Power BI, I shared a resource. I'll probably share that again after today's class, where you can just start learning Power BI, or probably I can even record a beginner Power BI class on my YouTube channel, and you just use that. But trust me, my learnings are beginner friendly, and I'm sure there are a couple of things I might be mentioning that might sound complex, but I might there are a couple of things I might be mentioning that might actually sound complex, but I'm sure you'll be able to follow through. Okay. Please drop your LinkedIn profile. Okay, somebody will drop my LinkedIn profile URL in the chat box briefly. Can you teach us how to communicate our data analysis findings in an engaging way to our technical and non-technical stakeholders? This is in the works, and you'll see that on my YouTube channel in the coming weeks. Can you recap the criteria for certification? To get your certification, all you need to do is recreate all 4 projects we'll be building in this session. That's number one thing. Number two, you must have posted it on social media. I don't care what social media you use. If you use Facebook, if you use LinkedIn or Twitter, anywhere you want to post it, but you must have shared that you attended the Power BI project marathon and you built these projects. Okay, it will even be better if you post as you build, or probably even create a thread that says, oh, you are starting the Power BI project marathon, and you'll be updating that thread with all the things for the class, or everything that we taught during the class. Okay, somebody's asking, will you be working on the UI part? Definitely, very, very important. We'll be working on the UI part as well. Okay, you mentioned linking our work online. What of those that don't have portfolios yet? You don't need when I say link your project online, I mean upload your project online, like post that dashboard. I'll teach you how to export it as a PDF or as an image. Post it. What we are building, you're going to post it online. So that's what I mean by sharing the project online. Will you guide us how to effectively display this project on our portfolio? Yes, I would actually do this. Okay. Let me see more questions I can take. Is it possible for us to follow up? So I don't know what you mean by follow up, but yes, I'm going to make sure the class is as beginner friendly as possible and everybody can follow up. Is the Power BI service compulsory for this marathon? I've answered that question. Can we work on Power BI online platform? The desktop is very slow. Most of the things I'll be doing is in the Power BI desktop, and the reason why your Power BI desktop is slow is because of your gigabytes, right? Maybe if you have like a 4 gigabyte RAM computer, Power BI tends to run slow on such department. Getting a live link on Power BI service means it has to be paid. I think there's a workaround getting a live link, and some persons have been sharing that video in the group. I'll also share it in the WhatsApp group. So you can just, somebody can make a list of all the things I said I will share on the WhatsApp group, and once the session is over, I'll share that. Which platform or tool will be used to analyze the data before visualizing it with Power BI? This is the Power BI project marathon. We are doing everything in Power BI. We are not going to any other tool. The program is expected to last for 2 weekends, this weekend and next weekend, Saturday and Sunday, same time every day. Is data modeling necessary at all times in order to get accurate visualizations? I would explain this when we start our visual. Will it be possible for those who doesn't have prior knowledge? Okay, I've answered this one. I've answered this as well. How can we share our visualization on GitHub? I'll share a video that you can use to do this. Healthcare data, I have a lot of healthcare data sets to share. So if you're interested in healthcare, you can even do me a favor by just dropping the data sets you want on the WhatsApp group. Please use the question channel so that it will be easy to track. I would drop data, but I have a lot of healthcare data sets that I can share with you. Okay. Would you be willing to provide support in terms of checking out projects we do based on this? I cannot guarantee this because I cannot guarantee helping to check out the project, right? But here's what I will tell you. If you do a project and you post it online, people aside me will you get a lot of reviews. As long as I'm seeing that thing and I'm retweeting it, you even get a lot of my contacts gets to see the work you have done. Okay. You mentioned something about 4 hours every Saturday. Will it be? No, it's not for the whole month. It's for this Saturday and Sunday, next Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, somebody is saying people should like the session. So please like the session. You can also share this session on social media so that everybody will join the session. Recommend books for us that would help us. I don't know. I would share. Please, if you have these questions now that you're asking, put them in the chat box. All right, so that is the end of our Q&A session. I'm going to go straight, it's time to go straight into business. I hope I was able to answer as many questions as possible. If I was not able to answer your question, I created a dedicated question channel. Please let that channel be for questions. I don't want to see discussions. If I answer your question, just react to it. No need to reply me okay or this, but if you have additional questions to whatever, you can then reply. If you have things you want me to share, post it on that questions channel. Let it be for questions, or okay, so that we don't disorganize all the group. If you want to have conversations, I've opened the Power BI Project Marathon group. It's open for conversations. Discuss away. I would also want to mention, a lot of people have been doing, I started my journey in 2008. Why that is good and very beautiful, because I'm also looking to learn from you guys. Please, let us do that after the program. Once the program ends next week, Sunday, once I just say, thank you for joining the Power BI Project Marathon, feel free to go on the group and say, let's connect. But for now, let's leave the group chat just for conversations about questions about I don't understand this and I don't understand this, so that people don't miss out on important information. Thank you very much for understanding. Beautiful. We're going to start the session. The session will be recorded. It will be available at most maybe 2 hours or 3 hours after the class, okay? Because I would need some time to also rest before we continue. Is everybody ready? Let me see reactions. If you are ready, there's use emoji, your favorite. Just drop your favorite emoji if you are ready, so we can start the session properly. If you're ready, use your favorite emoji. I can't see them. Beautiful. I see some emojis. Beautiful. All right. We're going to start the session. First thing I want to do, and this is also for the sake of those that are beginners, right? one thing is very important to know what dashboards are, or what dashboards are, right? Before we go into the major thing, one thing you should know is that dashboards are, I'm going to explain it in a way that is very, very simple to understand, right? But if you know what data analytics is all about, you already know what we use dashboards for. And dashboards are just visualizations that are used as part of a business intelligence process. So they are used as part of a BI process. When you hear BI, it means business intelligence, to help key stakeholders or executives understand their data and make business intelligence and business decisions. Okay, so what your dashboard is used for, it's used to show trends, patterns and relationship in your data that would actually be difficult to see in raw format. And for you to build dashboard, most of the popular tool that you will do this is your Power BI and your Tableau. There are several others, but these are the most popular one. And some of the benefits of building a dashboard is it sort of improves communication, right? Because if you show somebody a large spreadsheet and you tell the person to point something there, they will not be able to easily answer that question. But by the time you place that large spreadsheet on a visual, they would be easily it will be very easy to point out that this is the month where we make the most sale and where we don't make the most sale. Now there's been a lot of where the months where we're making the most sale or not. Now there's been a lot of misconceptions and confusion about what a dashboard is and what a report is. And in Power BI, in fact, if you go through the Microsoft Learn platform, Power BI will tell you that your dashboards highlight the most important information in your reports, right? And it is just single page. Now your dashboard is a single page report, right? But your report actually is a collection of visualization, and it can be more than one or more pages. That is what the definition in Power BI is when Power BI talks about dashboarding and reports. Okay, so when you hear dashboard and when you hear reports in Power BI, most times Power BI refers to dashboard as a one page, while reports as multiple page. Reports is multiple page, right? But I always like to I use them interchangeably. Sometimes I call my reports dashboards. I call my reports my dashboard reports. So I think it's not really a bad idea actually. I didn't mention that. I'll scrap this part. All right. So now that we understand what dashboards are, right? First of all, I'm going to talk about data visualization before I move into what I want to talk about. So when I talk about data visualization, I'm also referring to dashboards. Now, data visualization, something you people should know. So when I'm saying data visualization, I'm also sort of referring to those dashboards. Data visualization is one of the best ways we can get people to pay attention to our work as data analysts. Like it's sort of like the evidence of what we've done as data analysts. When you finish analyzing a data or building a report, nobody sees the back end. Nobody sees your data cleaning. Nobody sees your data modeling. All they see is a very a beautiful dashboard that you've done, or your end result, right? The front end of your report. It's just like when you prepare a meal. For example, you go to restaurants and you see a good plated meal, and nobody, like, you didn't see how they prepared, all the stress they went through to prepare that meal. All you're seeing is something very palatable in front of you. It's similar to data visualizations for data analysts. And when we build data visualizations, there's something we need to keep at the back of our mind. And I'm saying this so that everybody knows this before we go into, I'm sharing all this so that everybody has an idea of this before we go into more technicalities. When you build a dashboard, what you want people to be looking at is not how beautiful your report is. You want them to be looking at how beautiful your data is. What did I say? You want people to be looking at not how beautiful your report is, how beautiful the data is. So your data is what is important, not whatever aesthetics that you are going to add at the end of the day. Think of it. What exactly do you want audience to do when you build your visualization? For me, I want them to say, wow. And what kind of wow am I telling do I want them to say? I want them to say, I want to wow them such that they think about my report and they think of the clarity of the research that I've done and the depth and clarity of my visualization as well. Not maybe that I've added one crazy 3D animation somewhere, or I've probably used red and black to design or do map of Africa or whatever. You don't want that when you're doing visualizations, right? Something that you should understand is that when you're doing visualization, you're moving through a process, right? There are two processes. You are doing your analytics and you are doing the presentation. So when you think of visualization, think of two things: the analytics and the presentations. Now, the analytics visualization is that one which you create to better understand your data. So in this case, you have not even started thinking of what you want to present to your audience. You are just thinking of, okay, I'm just looking at my data to understand what kind of data I'm working with. Presentation is the one that you create to actually communicate your data to your audience. So this time around, you are selecting the right visual that tells the right story to communicate to your audience that this is the story you're trying to tell. Now, I'm going to move to the next page and talk about the types of dashboards that we have. So when we talk about types of dashboard, I'm just going to leave it at these two: by form and by function. And I will explain what this means, right? So you can classify them by form and by function. And by form, we have static and interactive. By function, we have exploratory and explanatory. Now, what do we mean by static dashboards and what do we mean by interactive dashboard? Now, static dashboard could be something that you could also be called like explanatory dashboard, where you've built something and it's just there. You've told a story, right? Interactive dashboard is that dashboard which you have sort of like placed some sort of interactivity in the sense of applying filters, applying some slicers so that your audience or your user can go in there and dice and slice your data. Now let's talk about by function. By function, we'll talk about exploratory and we'll talk about explanatory. Now for explanatory, you are telling a story to your audience and you want them to come to a conclusion, right? Sort of like you already have that story already told. That is your explanatory data analysis. You don't want them to come and start exploring or whatever. But exploratory analysis is you are asking your user to go into that data and come out with their own story. For example, if I build a dashboard for an organization that has different departments, right? If a product person goes to that dashboard, the information they are interested in will be different from when a marketing person goes to that data, right? It's going to be totally different. So they are coming in with different stories. Now, these are the things to keep in mind when creating a dashboard. You need to keep in mind what to present and how to present. If you've attended my class before or my boot camp, you would already know all this, but I'm sharing this for the purpose of those that are joining this session. I did mention this session is actually sponsored or proudly sponsored by the Power BI Project Club, which is an alumni organization for Power BI, the Power BI Bootcamp students. So if you've ever attended my bootcamp, you're automatically a member of that club, right? And the idea is to sort of provide mentorship to people that are in that particular group. So we've not done a lot, but we're looking to do so much more, and we're starting that with doing the Power BI project marathon. All right, just to continue, when you want to build a dashboard, there are several things to keep in mind when creating a dashboard, and two of those things are what to present and how to present it. Now, what to present? Now, what to present is sort of like the dashboard planning phase. The first thing you want to do is you're understanding the business problem. You're understanding your audience. You are doing a lot of understanding, right? After doing that, you want to move to your planning, your research phase, where you're researching, okay, this is what the problem I want to solve. What is the data I'll probably use to do this particular thing? Then you plan towards getting that data, how you want everything to be structured, and then you move to your mock-up phase. And on your mock-up phase is where you're sort of doing some wireframe. Now, let me just explain that some of these things might come interchangeably. For me, I like to understand my data, do my research, plan. Before mocking up, I go to the next one. which is how to present. I'm doing a lot of calculation, visualization, and formatting. Calculation is you trying to calculate your data and figure out some certain things about it, right? Visualization is you're just bringing in the right visuals to sort of display your analysis, and then formatting is you formatting that visual in a way that is presentable for your audience. Okay, now for me, I always like to go via the route of understanding, research, planning. I move to the how to present, and when I'm done, I go back to building my I move to how to present, do visualization, go to the mock-up phase where I sort of build a wireframe, and this is how where you're just designing your dashboard, how you want it to look like. And thankfully, I'm going to be teaching you that in this particular class. Next thing you need to put at the back of your mind, this might not come in very, very handy when you are working on projects, but in a real life scenario, this happens, right? Now, one of the very first thing you want to think of when you want to start building reports is, number one, think of, I'm sharing this slide, so anytime you want to build a report or work on a project, just come back here and read this, okay? Now, number one, dashboard purpose. Why exactly am I building this dashboard? Why? You need to ask, if it's somebody that is telling you to build the dashboard now, why do you need this information? What problem are you trying to solve? What is your pain point? And what action will be taken from it? The next thing, after knowing what the problem is that you're trying to solve, right? The next thing is to start listing business questions. For example, I'm going to use an example of let me use a marketing ROI analysis, that is marketing return of investment analysis, right? Say I do or let me do a marketing campaign performance, for example. Now, the business problem here is that the particular business wants to track, their marketing campaign performance, right? That is the business problem, right? They want to be able to track their marketing campaign performance. So you would need to analyze that data to be able to allow them see some the campaigns that has worked and those that are not working, where users are coming from the most, and things like that. Now, what is going to be your business question? Because that's the next stage in your dashboard purpose. Your business question will probably be, okay, what campaign performed better the most? What sites are users coming from? How many website visits? A lot of things on that. Oh, did they make a purchase? Did every lead to convert? What's the total impressions? You are writing all of those business questions down. The next thing you want to think about is, who is this dashboard meant for? Maybe sometimes the who comes before even your questions, but you need to think about who your dashboard is meant for. And here's the thing. Sometimes you are building dashboard for technical audience, and when you're building dashboard for technical audience, you can use complex charts, right? Like, because most non-technical persons, for example, sometimes they don't understand scatter plots. As simple as scatter plot looks, they don't understand it, right? Most of them, I'm sure a lot of us will be used to the fact that you work in organizations or you've analyzed data for a client and they're telling you to go and change the visuals and use a bar chart or a pie chart, right? So when you're building reports, you have to consider your audience. Who is the dashboard meant for? Am I building for like my managers? Am I building for CEOs? Who exactly is this dashboard meant for? The next thing you want to think about is, what are the KPIs? What do I mean by this? What are the important information that these people would like to see in my reports? KPIs are called key performance indicators. If you don't know what this means, and we're going to be learning about that in this session, okay? KPIs are key performance indicators, and they're just things that sort of tracks a business growth. So you have to actually think of that. What are the KPIs of this business? What are those things? Now, for a sales business, it might probably be their total revenue, their profits, profit margin, average order value, and things like that. Those might be their KPI. I will probably look for a link that has KPIs for several industries and share that in the chat. So again, somebody can drop this in the chat so that I remember. Okay, the next thing is dashboard design. You now you think about your dashboard design. Now, for your dashboard design, you start thinking, this dashboard I want to build, is it going to be exploratory? Is it going to be explanatory? How many tabs do I envision? What do I mean by this? How many pages do I want to see on my report? Is there a color palette or a font? Probably the company or the organization has a color palette that they use, right? You want to actually do that. Okay, somebody is asking, so report is like a collection of dashboards. That's correct. Okay, then next we'll move to the data discovery phase. Now, your data discovery phase is where you are thinking about you're thinking about the data source. Okay, I know the problem. The problem is marketing campaign performance. Where will I get the data for this problem, right? So that's why I say sometimes when you are doing projects, because it's project building and you're just trying to build your portfolio, sometimes it might be you just go and pick up a data before the thinking of a problem. But in real world scenarios, sometimes or most times in real world scenario, there's a problem that needs to be solved. There are several problems that happen, and that is why I'm showing you how to do problem-based projects, industry-based projects. Okay, so it's there. You need to think of your data discovery. Is there currently a data source? If there is none, where am I getting the data from? Is the data stored in a database? Is it stored on the cloud? Is it stored in on your Excel? Maybe it's just a flat file. Where exactly what does the data source look like? Next thing is, are we dealing with single source or multiple source? Am I going to be extracting data from different sources? There are cases where you will need to get data from a file folder, go to maybe Azure Blob, get data from there, go to Snowflake, get data from there, and combine all these data before you are able to do this report. Next thing you want to think of is how large is the data set, right? Because how large the data set is might even determine the tool that you're going to be using. Because if the data set is so large, maybe I'm talking billions of rows, or you don't want to go and start loading that in your Excel, you will just crash. Now, I think I've talked about okay, this was supposed to be here. I've talked about dashboard design, so I'll just move to the next thing. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is where you are you want to think of if this dashboard is going to be published, if they are going to be set, like if they're going to be like dates there, what exactly the titles should look like, and what default filters the organization wants you to apply on that particular dashboard. Now, when it comes to projects like building because I want to make this as beginner friendly, and also I know my target audience, most people I'm teaching right now are looking to land their first role, right? So now this one might be more focused on when you're in an organization. So let's talk about if you were to work on your own project, which is what we want to do now, right? What is the first thing in your project step? Now, I'll tell you what the first thing is. The first thing is know the objective, and put this at the back of your mind, because every project we're going to be building, this is what we're going to follow. This is the step we're going to follow. The first thing we're going to try to do is know the objective, and we'll do that as a collective. Know the objective. Number two thing you want to do, okay, is understand the data set. Okay, you want to understand the data set. So if you don't understand your data set, you will not be able to actually proceed. Next thing is data cleaning. All your data, you have to be sure, even if you have cleaned your data in Excel, you have cleaned it in Python, if you are bringing it to Power BI, you still need to go and click on transform to look at your data to be sure that it's in the right format, and I would explain why. The next thing is your data modeling phase, where you get to either split your tables into fact and dimension table, or also connect your table if it's already splitted and you just have multiple tables there. And then the next thing you want to do after modeling your data is to carry out your analysis. And in this phase, you're writing all your calculations and every other thing that you might actually need to carry out this project. And the last step is your data visualization phase, right, where you're doing all of your visualization, formatting them, and doing your design. One last step I did not put here, but we're going to do it, is data interpretation and actually documenting the project or explaining your results as well. So that is something we are also going to look at. Who is excited? Please just give me thumbs up or reaction if you're excited about this already. If you are excited, just drop a thumbs up and then we'll get into it. Okay, beautiful. Now we're going to, if you're looking for the resources that we're going to use for this session, all resources are in this drive, and I've already shared the link on the WhatsApp group. I'll probably reshare again, but if you have access to the drive already, please reshare for others. So this drive will contain all the resources that we are going to be using, and we are diving straight into project 1. I think we're moving at a good pace, right? 3 hours to go. We've not started. Okay, beautiful. So if you want all the resources for this particular, I think this weekend we'll be more focused on the first dashboard we'll be building, which is the supplier insights dashboard. And I'm just going to show you a brief preview of what that report looks like before we continue. Okay, beautiful. Better. Page view. Okay, good. Fit to page. I can do this now. Good. Okay, just a moment so I can reshare the WhatsApp group on this place. I don't think I shared that before. Oh, I might not be able to do that now, but I would definitely share that after the session, please. I'll definitely share that after the session. If you cannot join the group, there's a new link. Chinaza, if you're on the call, please just help me drop that new link on the chat now. There's a new link to join the WhatsApp group. Please, I've also pinned the resources on this live as well, so I'm sure everybody would see that already. It's already pinned to this session, so just check the pinned messages on this session. You would see that already. Okay. All right, we're going to continue now. If you look at this visual, this is what we're going to end up with. So this is what we are creating. And this is, I'm not going to explain what the dashboard is, start looking at our problem statements, but this is a very problem, is a problem associated with most manufacturing company, FMCGs. So if you belong to that company, once I'm saying some things, you probably can relate to it, okay? So, okay, somebody's asking, will you ask the company for their color palette when building that dashboard? Okay, so sometimes when I sometimes when you're in an organization, they already have a Power BI template they are working with that they'll probably just share with you that this is how, you know how if you're a design person, most companies already have like their what do they call it? I don't know if it's design portfolio or something like that, but they already have that in place, right? That you just have to replicate. This is if it's a structured organization. If you are probably the first data analyst in that organization, you'll probably fall on you to maybe create all those stuff. But yes, that is the answer to that particular question. All right, so I'll just give a brief overview of this report. So this is what we're going to be building in the next 2 days. Actually, hopefully we're able to complete this because it took me I think 3 days or thereabouts to build this. And backstory, this was a project for an interview. This was given to me by a company to do, like, it was an interview question. Okay, why is it taking? Okay, it's been long. I upload this thing. Okay, beautiful. All right, so this is the report we're going to be working on, and it has different pages, right? You have the overview page. I think I already shared a video on this on my YouTube channel, so if you want to look at that video, you can just go check it out. And it's a supplier quality and performance dashboard, right? So we're going to be recreating what you see on this screen so that you know that it's not magic to do things like this, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and go to so we'll start discussing about the problem statement. Like I mentioned, if you open the drive, you would see supplier insights. Every resources I'm going to be using will be there. Also, I've been so kind and gracious to provide you with a how do I call it? With a template PBIX, right? You won't see the image, but every DAX I've created, every DAX, every calculation I've created, you would see it in that template PBIX, which is this one that I'm looking at here. So this supplier quality and performance dashboard template PBIX file. So in case you don't want to start writing all the DAX, but I'll tell you the facts. I've watched videos where, and the reason I'm going to create from scratch, but the reason why I'm providing this for you is so that in case you want to do copy and paste, because I know some people are lazy, but you will still build that dashboard. That's just the thing. You still build the dashboard, but if you are tired of maybe doing copy and paste for your calculation, but it would just be best, watch the video and try to recreate. I will also do copy and paste at some point if I feel like we don't have enough time, but I'll try to teach you to my the very best of my knowledge as well. Okay. Oh wow, nice. Somebody says they work in plant operations, cement manufacturing. This is beautiful. All right. I honestly love this. I think while I also shared this thing, somebody said they work in insurance too, and it's also one of our reports. So that's actually really beautiful. Okay. Now let's look at our first case study. I see a lot of persons are already on this doc. Beautiful. Let's go. The first case study we're going to be working on, or the first project we're going to be building on, is on supplier quality data. Okay, and I would explain the industry, and I will make it as simple as possible so that you understand what we're trying to do here. Now, I'm going to use a manufacturing company like let's use, for example, a biscuit manufacturing company, or Indomie. Yes, let's use noodles, right? In case you've never heard of Indomie before. We Nigerians call it Indomie, but it's noodles. So Indomie as a brand, for example, they produce Indomie, right? Now, for them to produce Indomie, they have a lot of things that need to be in place. Like they use a lot of raw materials. Am I correct? So now these raw materials that they use, most times they have vendors, right, that supply them these materials. And these vendors that supply these materials, they also have like different plant location. They might have different plant location. When we mean plant location, like different manufacturing plants, right? Like different manufacturing companies that they do their packaging and whatever. And different vendors actually provide all these materials to them. Now, there are cases when sometimes they might have like vendors that supply materials might supply bad materials to them, right? Like defective materials. And when they supply these defective materials, the plant in question cannot proceed with the manufacturing, right? There will be some level of downtime. For example, maybe I told you to give me 20 cartons or 20 cartons so that we used to package Indomie. And out of those 20 cartons, 5 of those cartons are bad, right? What does this mean? I will not be able to package 5 Indomie cartons, and I will end up with, like, there will be some sort of downtime. So that particular production will be stalling. Okay, that particular production will be stalling. Now, some of you that are saying you want to follow along, I'm not going to go back. That's why I'm telling everybody to pay attention. I won't go back. I want you to pay. I will try to take it as slow as possible. But if you are drawing my attention to something I did maybe 15 minutes ago, you would have to go back and watch recording. Thank God it's YouTube. You can always take it back. All right. I'm not being mean. I'm not a mean teacher. Trust, you love me. Don't worry. But it's very important I state that. Okay. Next thing that the data you are downloading, I've already linked the resources. The data you are downloading is the supplier quality data, and it's in that drive. When I want to download it, I'm going to show you. So if you look at this thing, you see supplier data in the drive. That is the data we're working with. All right. Now that I've put some context, right? I've put some context in the or on the projects we're going to be working with, and people understand this. Now, somebody says they work in a paint production. Beautiful. That is another instance. So I'm sure you can relate to when you probably get materials that are defective and all of that, and the downtime that causes for the organization. Okay. Now, here's the thing, okay? You our brief for today is, and I'm just going to read it out as it is. It says you are working with a manufacturer, okay, who receives and orders a number of raw materials which are then used in production or for general maintenance. Currently, there's no procurement system in place and no way for the companies to validate which suppliers are providing us with quality goods and which are not. There's also no consistency between different plants and the vendors we are purchasing from. The program management team has identified the need to centralize and understand supplier quality as a priority. There has been a major effort in recent weeks to consolidate the data. The team have now managed to gather data from across the plants with information around the material, defect, and vendor. They've also managed to get the number of defective materials and also provided a value for the minutes of downtime. Okay? The management team, minutes of downtime caused by the defective material. The management team are now looking for some help to validate this data, to help visualize and extrapolate the findings from this data. Now, the name of the company is Enterprise Manufacturers Limited. So, Enterprise Manufacturers Limited are slowly adopting Power BI within their organization. As such, one of the analysts has made an effort at starting to model the data. Given the importance of the project and urgency, management have decided to enlist the experts, which is you and I, to get this over the line. Some key questions the business wants answering to are: which vendors or plants are causing the greatest defect quantity? Which vendors or plants are causing the greatest downtime? Is there a particular combination of material and vendor that perform poorly? Is there a particular combination of vendor and plant that performs poorly? How does this same vendor and material perform across different plants? Are we following? Somebody said the supplier brief I'm showing is not showing part of the files. I don't know if, let me know if everybody can still see my screen. I want to be sure everybody can see my screen. Please just give me a reaction if you can still see my screen and if you're following. Okay, so we are on the 1 hour mark. I'm going to give a 2 minutes break and we'll be back in the next 2 minutes. So by, let me say, this is 3 o'clock my time. So we'll do by 3:02 or no 3:03. By 3:03 we are going to be back. By 3:03 we'll be back. So let's take a break. You can use this period to drink water, stretch your legs, and maybe take coffee or whatever you want to take so that you can stay awake. All right. I hope everyone is back. So if you are, everybody should be back by now, right? So start coming back to your seats and let's get back to class. Okay. Good. So the last thing I mentioned, or where I stopped before we took a break, was I want to be sure that everybody is still following. Please just drop a reaction in the live chat. Oh, somebody says, "Why my?" Please leave the dog that's barking. Ignore my background noise, please. Okay, good. I think we are all back, right? Now, the last thing I did, or before we went on the break, I shared or I talked to us about the brief. Now, imagine you are in a company. Now, you're a data analyst. I already explained, right, that what's like this supplier insights mean, or what's this like manufacturing company kind of problem they experience. Now, imagine you are a data analyst and Indomie as a brand sends you this kind of mail. You get a mail now from Indomie that, oh, okay, we just started collecting data and we are having this sort of issue. We want to explore, enlist you as the expert to come and help us analyze this data or figure out what the problem we are having. The first thing you want to do, and what I always like to do every time when I get a brief, right, or when I get what I want to do, I read the brief over and over and over again, multiple times. I read it again, no matter, like, many times. What this does is it sort of helps you to understand, like, whatever, like, make sure that if maybe there's something you missed out while you were reading the initial time, you get that again, right? Now, next thing, even though I should have not done this before this class, but I just copied and pasted, that's why, and we'll do it together. So let me just explain. Now, number one, it says you're working with a manufacturer who receives and orders. So you already know what they do, right? They receive, they order. One, that's what they do, right? You need to understand what they do. A number of raw materials used in production. So what does this tell you? Okay, they are a manufacturing company or they are a production company, right? They do production. Currently, there's no procurement system in place for the companies to validate which suppliers are providing us with quality goods. That is a problem that they are facing. They need to find out what suppliers are providing them with quality goods. Number one problem. Good. Let's continue. Number two, or another line, they said there's also no consistency between the different plants and vendors. This is problem number two. There's no consistency. They want to find out which plants or which vendors are providing maybe good products, or what are the best performing vendors or worst performing vendors to some of the plants. Problem number two. Now, paragraph number, this is 1, 2, 3, paragraph number 4. The program management team, what do you get from this? Program management team has identified the need, meaning what? Who is going to use this dashboard? Program management team. You have gotten your audience. As simple as that. This is how to actually picture, like, try to formulate your business this thing. Program management team has identified the need to centralize and understand supplier quality as a priority. So they want to make this of utmost importance, meaning this supplier quality, whatever dashboard or report you're going to build, is going to be there for a long time. They want to start doing it. They want to start using it, right? Now, I'll move to, after this, I'll move to the next paragraph. The team have now managed to gather data from across the plants with information around material, defects, and vendor. What does this mean? That the data that you are working with is from, it's based on material. You have material in it, defect, and you have vendor. Okay? That is another thing. Now, let's move to paragraph 2. So you have you know your data, sort of. You still need to go and explore it, but you know your data. Again, they've managed to get the number of defective materials. So this is probably talking about your metrics. Now the other one was what? Your dimensions, right? These are your measures, sort of, right? Number of defective materials, and also provided a value for the minutes of downtimes. So these are the metrics you have in this data: defective materials and minutes of downtime minutes caused by the defective material. Okay, now what they're actually looking for help is for you to visualize this data, and given the some of the questions they want you to answer is which vendors and plants are causing the greatest defect quantity, which they've given you a list of questions that you should answer actually, right? But they've also told you that if you there are some insights that they've overlooked, also include them. Now we are in the world of AI, and AI has made everything so easy. Sometimes when I get briefs like this, what I just do is I would come if I want to work on a project. Like, we are blessed in this era. I'm not even going to lie to you. We are totally blessed with ChatGPT, generative AI, Gemini, black box, like all these AI. We are totally blessed, and please never feel guilty for using them, because I get a lot of my mentees trying to tell me that, oh, they feel guilty for using ChatGPT. ChatGPT is there to enhance your skill as a data analyst. Now, there's something one of my mentors says. He says that AI will not take your job, AI will not replace you, but those who know how to use AI are going to replace you, and I totally agree with that. So what I do, all right, okay, maybe let me talk about before ChatGPT. What I would rather do is I'll probably copy this brief and go and paste it in my Power BI on like page 1, so I can keep looking at it. But now that I have, and probably just start thinking of a couple of questions I want to ask, maybe go to Google and research about supplier quality, and even see if anybody has done anything relating to supplier quality. And if I see anything relating to that, I just look at some of the metrics that are on that dashboard, like the KPIs and everything. And this is what you should do when you want to build a dashboard. Anytime you get a data, I always believe that there's nothing new under the sun, right? Now let me tell you something. When I got this data as a for an interview questions, I was so for as in this thing, I was so in a hurry to sort of. Let me know if you can hear me now. I don't think it's going to connect. I need to connect to my internet. See if this is backup. My internet is backup. Is it back? Oh, you can hear me now. All right. So sorry about that. My internet uses light, and funny enough, they took the light for a second. The light is back up, but I'm already connected to a different internet, so I'll probably just continue with this internet. So I'm sure that everybody can hear me clearly. Okay, good. So I was so much in a hurry to actually like submit the results, and I didn't do all those research, right? I just worked with a brief and analyzed, did whatever I could do. I did something really solid actually, and I sent that, right. That's what happened for that is what happened while I was doing it. So I wasn't able to go through the entire process of having to research about my data or anything, right? So something I always advise people: when you get a data like this, always go, or when you get an industry case problem you're solving, go online, and Google is there, and research about that problem. There's nothing new. Somebody must have worked on something similar, okay? Something must have worked on something similar, so you can always look at that before you actually proceed. Now, with the integration of AI now, what I would normally do is I would copy my entire business problem or whatever brief I've been given, okay? I would copy that brief, and then what I'm just going to do is I will go to Chat GPT, and then I'm going to copy that information. I won't even say anything. I'll just copy it and paste it, and I'll enter. And I'll wait for ChatGPT to do the work. Okay, I need to refresh my GPT. Okay, beautiful. So I'll just paste that brief and I would enter. I won't even put anything, right? I'll just let ChatGPT do the work. So it's going to sort of tell me like how to carry out that project, and even tell me some of the things that I need to put on that result. You can see like some of the things he has listed. All you just need to do is copy this thing, replicate. Now, if you are not smart, that's why I said AI will not take your job. If you are not smart, even with this information, you will do rubbish. You will not even be able to tell a good story. You will not understand what you're trying to do. Now, something I can do again is I can just tell them ChatGPT, generate business questions based on this problem, and I'll enter that. And you can see different questions that is going to list out. So if you are running out of questions, or you don't know what to put on your dashboard, ChatGPT is there to the rescue, and you can just use your data to answer. Sometimes you will put some things that you don't even have in your data, but you just use your. If you want accurate results, something you can do sometimes is copy your column, right, and come and place it here. That is something you can actually do. Now, oops, my laptop is not charging. Okay, good. Now that we've seen how to sort of generate business question with the help of AI, we're going to go straight into business and start looking at, we're going to do the next thing, right? The first thing we did was to understand the objective, and we've not even really looked at that. I just wanted to show you how to generate business question. Now, based on this brief you've read, can somebody tell me, I just want maybe a couple of persons, just tell me anything you think in your head. What problem is this company trying to what company is this company trying to solve? Who can help me with that question? And I would tell you what exactly, like the 5 lines I was able to bring out from all these things. But I want to learn from you guys too. What do you think? What do you think? Okay, I'm going to be looking at the comment section now. Yes, the file can also be attached, but what would you do if it was a business file? Would you attach it to? Do you want them to sack you? Okay. Looking for consistency and quality of products. They want to know the best supplier. Reduce down. Beautiful. Reduce downtime. No, there's somebody smart on this call. Reduce downtime. That is like beautiful. To reduce poor quality material received from vendors and reduce downtime. That is good. Oh, the person that put that response is my student, and I'm so proud. You see, I did teach. No. I'm actually so proud to see that he responded to that. Now, okay, company is looking to drop vendors supplying low quality. They want to know what company delivers the best products. The company wants to determine which of the supplier. It's very interesting to see that a lot of us understand what's good. That means our business, our intuition is great. Our data intuition is great, right? How does the cost of downtime come? Good. These are very, very beautiful responses, but I particularly liked the person that mentioned to reduce downtime. That is something that is very, very critical, and this is a problem in most manufacturing companies, FMCGs. If you work in that actual organizations, okay. Now let me talk about how I read this brief now, how I converted this brief, right? We have how many lines here, or how many paragraphs here? So in just maybe 4-5 lines, what I just thought about was the company wants to start monitoring the performance and the quality of the goods sent to them. They want to start monitoring. So with that dashboard now, they'll be able to monitor it. One, they don't have a procurement system in place though, so they also do not have all the data, right, but they don't want to wait. They don't want to wait because they are losing money, because downtime means they are losing money as well. When they're having downtime, they're losing money. They also don't want to wait, but they are looking for all the insights that would actually help them satisfy this particular problem. Okay, we are going to continue. I hope we're all following. Okay, now that we understand what is going on, we're going to go to the next stage, which is understanding our data sets. Okay, I'm going to open the data set here. I've already shared a link to all the drive, right? So I've already shared the link to the drive that contains all the materials. It's pinned on this group, so you can also check that out. I think it's an Excel file. I have a lot of data in this place. Now looking for this one might be, I have that in. Okay, beautiful. So the data we're working with is this supplier data. I'll just let that open up and then good. Yes, I want to view these files later. Beautiful. Now this is our data set. So we've done step one, right? And step one, I mentioned step one is understanding what the objective of the business is. So it's to reduce downtime and also save costs or save money. That is what they want to do. They want to reduce downtime. So we're going to look at our data sets. Now, if you look at this data set, it contains, you will realize that we have a lot of dimensions here. What do I mean by dimensions? Your categorical variables. I can see vendor here, plant location, category. Please confirm everybody you can still see my screen, right? I need to be sure that my screen is still visible. Okay, I think so. Yeah. All right, so you can see I have all the information here on like categorical variable, right? Please let me know if it's not visually clear from your end. Please, you might want to check the settings of your YouTube. So you want to be able to stream at a greater quality. If you are streaming at 240 MPS, it's not going to be clear. So you want to be able to stream at least maybe 720 or thereabouts. Okay, so please, you want to check that out. Now, just like I was mentioning, if you look at this data, you realize that we have a lot of categorical variables, a lot of dimensional data here, and then just two metrics, which is our total defect quantity and our total downtime minutes. And like they said, they just started collecting data. They don't have a lot of data, so you can see we don't even have the total number of shipments or the total number of materials that was received or that was delivered, right? We just only have information about the defective material and the downtime minutes, right? We also have information about the different vendors, the plant location, where it's located, right? We also have information about like the category of material, right? Like materials and components, mechanicals, like that. We have the material type, we have the defect type, no impact, rejected, and impact. If I do a drop down, you see that, right? So I like to use Excel most times to get a brief overview of my data before taking it into Power BI. I don't do anything here. I just try to open up the file in Excel, and I think everybody should, right? To just look at, okay, it helps your thinking too. Another thing I will do is I'm going to come to my I would open a brand new Power BI this thing now, and most times I like to work with a Power BI desktop that already have my date table imported. But if you don't know how to create date table, I will probably record a video, or I'll share a video on my channel on how to create a date table. But like I mentioned, this is not and I don't want to be doing too much advanced stuff. So somebody is not asking me, oh, how do I create this? So I'm going to leave all the technical concepts. Those things you can learn them in videos, right? I would talk about majorly the most of the things you don't learn in tutorial. That is what you would probably learn. But I'm actually so proud, and permit me, I'm going to be hyping my students a lot because they already know how to create a date table. So it's not going to be a problem. Okay, so I hope everybody is following. Somebody say they are lost. Please find yourself. We are just starting. We've not even started. So you should not be lost. Okay? All right. So if you are lost, we're starting on a fresh slate now. This is fresh. We just open Power BI. So find yourself now as we are starting here. Good. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to just copy this brief I have here. I always like to put the brief when I'm working with data in Power BI on like the instruction on the first page, so that I know that whatever I'm doing, I'm working in line. So I'll just do Control C, and on this page here, I would insert a text box, right? I'll just insert a text box here, select a text box, and I'm going to drag this here, and I'll just paste that in this place, and maybe increase the size to 16. Okay, this is better. You can see it. Okay, I'll just leave this like this here, so I can always come back instead of going back to wherever I downloaded that data set from. I hope everybody is following. Some people are laughing in the comment section, so I don't know why. All right, next thing we're going to do is to bring our data into Power BI, okay? And before I bring in my data, there's one thing I like to do. I always want to come to my file and go to my settings and turn off auto date time, so that it doesn't cause any problem. And sometimes I also turn off auto detect relationship. So all I just need to go to is file, then I'll go to my options and settings. I'll go to options, and then once it opens up the window, I'm just going to come to where I have this. I'll go to my data load that's under current file, okay, and I'll make sure auto date and time is unchecked, and I would uncheck this auto detect new relationships. The reason being that I want to create the relationships by myself, and I also want to I don't want any underlining data models in my data caused by my date and time. I don't want any of those data hierarchy. So I'm going to click on OK. Beautiful. Now, straight into the next step, we're going to get our data, and our data is in an Excel format. So what I just need to do is I'll come to get data, click on Excel workbook, and then I will go to where I have that data in my PC. So make sure you've downloaded the data before you take this step. And I'm just going to click on supplier data, and I'm going to click on open. And once I do that, it's going to open up the navigator pane. And on this navigator pane, I'm going to see two results. I don't know if anybody knows why we have two distinct. Meanwhile, we have just one table, one Excel file. Does somebody want to answer? Power BI Project Club members, don't answer. I need outside people to share their. I want other people to answer. They know the answer to that. So please, I want somebody to answer. Do you know why we have two tables on this place instead of one, when we just have only one? It's one data I brought in. Anybody want to try? Sheets and tables. Beautiful. That is just a brilliant answer, and that is the answer to the question. So Excel has different properties, right? It has a workbook property, sheet property, and table property. Now, if you look at this data here, it has been formatted as a table, right? So when you try to bring it into Power BI, it detects it as one is a table and another one is the sheet. So, but most times when I'm analyzing data, I always like to select the sheet because I always want to bring in everything, because you don't know if there's any data outside of that table. So that is why I always like to select the sheet on, and then remember what I said. Regardless of if you've cleaned your data in Python, Excel, or any other analytical tool, if you're bringing it to Power BI, what you always want to do is click on transform data that sends you to the Power Query editor. Cool. Now, once you're on the Power Query editor here, what's going on? Okay, give me a second. I want to be sure that this is available to everybody, because I know everybody can access this actually. So I don't know. You just download. If you come here, just come to the data and do download to be able to download it, or select the data here and you can just select the data and then do download. Nobody should request for access to be. Everybody has access to this. You can access this thing. Back to Power Query editor. All right. So now in your Power Query editor, the next thing you want to do is you want to look at your data thoroughly to be ensure that there are no issues and start the data cleaning. The file is downloadable. It is downloadable. You have to click on it or right click on it and you see download. So the file is downloadable. Please check if anybody has downloaded. Please share how you downloaded in the comment section for others. Am I too fast? Is my pace too fast? Please, I want to confirm that my pace is okay. Am I moving very fast? Because I will take it I've been going at a very slow pace. No, I'm not giving you time to upload on Power BI. I've said it. Listen to the session. You can do it on your own. I mentioned this when I started the class. Listen first and then I'm not waiting for anybody. And if you miss out on anything, you'd have to go back and watch the recording because we're working with time here. Imagine if I do one step and I wait for everybody to do the step. Do you know how long we'll spend doing that? So please let everybody, that's why most times I don't like to make the resources available, but everybody will keep asking. Beautiful, my pace is fine. Good. Then we're going to proceed. All right, the next thing we want to do now that we have our data set in here is, if you look at this, you will realize that we just have one table, right? And you want to build this particular table you want to work with this data in the most in a way that supports performance, right, to the lowest. Like you don't want lagging or anything like that, right? So one thing we'll first do is we're going to take a good look at our table to be sure that they have the correct data type. We don't have missing values and all that, right? First of all, this is date data type, so correct. Text, all correct. We are not beginners in Power BI, so I'm sure we understand this. Text, and this is number, right? And this is number, which is also correct. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to see if I have duplicates in this data. And I'll come to this table icon here and do what? Remove duplicates. I can do keep duplicates first to be sure that I have any to look, but I don't have, right? I actually do not have any duplicates in my data. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I want to build a data model out of this. And for me to be able to build a data model, something I'm going to do is I'm going to recreate or duplicate this table I have here. Because if you look, just basically looking at this, you can see I have a vendor dimension, I have a plant location dimension, category dimension, material type, defect type, defects, right? These are different dimensions. And I want to build a data model. But if you notice, I don't have primary keys. I don't have keys in this data. Is that correct? So what I'm going to do is I'll duplicate this data first of all. Now, how many dimensions do I want? I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6 different dimensions. So I want to end up with 6 tables. Let me see. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I want to end up with 7 tables actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this table 6 times. So I'll just right click and do duplicate 1. I'm going to right click, do duplicate 2. Right click, do duplicate 3. Right click, do duplicate 4. And the last one, okay, no, not the last one, duplicate 5. And how many do I have here now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I need one more table and duplicate the last one, 7. Now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to rename all these tables. So the first dimension I want to have is my vendor dimension, which is the first thing here. So I will rename this by just double tapping on it and call this vendor. Okay. The next one is I will double tap on this and I will call this plant location. I'm going to also double tap on this one. I can just call this instead of plant location, maybe just plants, because it's getting longer. Okay, beautiful. Then this one I would call my category. Does everybody understand what I'm doing here? First of all, you would understand by the time I'm done. This one I'm going to call it my material type table. Material type. And then this one I would call okay, I would explain all these things. Beautiful. I love the questions I'm getting. Please keep them coming. If you don't understand, I would go through it. I know I don't want to keep saying these things, but people that have attended my class would actually understand this, because I know most tutorials people take, this is not a topic that is being like people don't dive deep into it, so you might not understand why we're doing this, but I'll try to also explain it, since I mentioned that as long as you know how to use Power BI. I'll tell you why we're doing this. Data normalization. Thank you. That is the answer to the question. So data normalization. Okay, so the next one is I would put defect type. I'll tell you how I knew this thing that I need. And the last one is, I think, defects. So I'm going to rename this to defects. So most times it's best to do this on, if you have a very large data set, sometimes you can do this on an Excel spreadsheet, defects. Because we don't have all day, that's why I'm doing it here. Now, I have all these tables. Now, somebody asked, why are we doing this, right? It's very important to, in fact, it's not, the data I told you I got one large table, and they told me that the brief I got from them, this is not the brief, this one I came up with this brief, or it's something, the brief they gave me was different, but they mentioned some things, and that is what, because they want to know if you can do the job. And let me tell you what they mentioned. We want to see your data modeling skills, we want to see your DAX skills. Now, how do you model a table that is just a single table? Question. Now, that is why you are doing, like, you want to show an organization, if you are analyzing this data now for an organization, you want to show them that you understand your onions, okay? Now, you know what you are doing, or you know data modeling as well. So that is why you need to do it. So it's called data normalization. Now, somebody asked me, how do I know what table to, what names to put in my dimension table, or what I should put, right? Now, this is what I want you to this is what I want you to do. When you are, I'll probably record a video on how to create facts and dimension table. Thank you for giving me that idea as well. But when it comes to facts, when it comes to data modeling, when we talk about data modeling, is you splitting your tables into fact and dimension table. This is not in the scope of this class, so I'm just going to be brief about it. It's about you splitting your table into fact and dimension tables, right? And when splitting into fact and dimension, you're splitting one large table into fact and dimension tables. And when splitting into fact and dimension tables, the very first step is to split your data into categories and values, which is somewhat what I'm trying to do here, but this thing. Then after splitting into categories and values, you want to consider all your value field as your fact table fields. Then you go ahead and look for relationship between your data to find, like, if they are between your categories, to find if there are any categories that have relationships, right? And each category with a relationship, you are throwing them in one bucket as a dimension. Okay, then you now move to sort of identifying the smallest units in each dimension, which you would identify as your primary key, and you replicate that primary key in your foreign key, and it's that foreign key you will connect to your primary key. I know I'm saying a lot of things. It might not be very easy to understand, but you probably need to read about data modeling or watch videos on data modeling. So that is what we are actually doing here. Okay, now the reason why we are building a data model in this case is because I want you to learn how to incorporate this in your project, so that you can talk about it when you are, it's not every time you carry one large table and you just do and bring it out and do top 5 and you like explore. You need to be able to, and that is why most times people come to me and tell me that, oh, they've done projects, but they are not getting opportunities, because you've not actually demonstrated your skills in that project. You've done the regular thing everybody is doing. You have to go outside of the norm, think outside of the box, right? So that is why we are actually doing this. Now that we've splitted this into, I've done this by splitting this into my categories and my dimensions. The next thing I want to do, in my vendor table, I only want to see vendor related information. So I'll go to my choose columns, and what I'm going to do there is I'll uncheck the box and I'll just check only vendor, and I'll click on OK. One last thing I'm going to do in this place is that I'm going to click on, I'm going to remove duplicates from this table. So I would right click on it and I'll do remove duplicates. Now I have all the unique vendors in my data. If I go back one step before, you realize I had over 1,000 rows, right? Which is my original data set. But right now, after removing duplicates, I now have 300 rows. So I have 318 unique vendors. Okay, so you can see that I now have 318 distinct and 318 unique. I will tell you why date is not duplicated. Beautiful questions. Don't worry. Beautiful question. Now we now have our vendor, all the unique vendors we have, right? The next thing I'm going to do, somebody said there's no, I mentioned there's no primary key. We need to create one, right? Now one way to do this in Power BI is to just come to your add column session. And then what you want to do is add an index column. What this will do is it will label all your values as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and like that. So what I'm going to do is I'll just click on the drop down, because I want the indexing to start at 1, not 0. I'm going to click on from 1. And immediately it's going to do this. And I can just rename this. Instead of index, I'll call this vendor ID. And I'll click on enter. So now this becomes my vendor ID. I'll go to my plants and I'll do the same thing. What do I want to see in my plants? Only information related to the plants. So I'll go back to my home tab, do choose columns, and then uncheck the box. Okay. Uncheck the box. And then I'm going to look at, somebody said Power Query won't be needed. Most people think Power Query is just for cleaning your data. There are a lot of things you can actually do with Power Query. Power Query Editor is actually very, very powerful. I purposely picked a data set that was not too dirty, actually. So please, let's just work with that. I know a lot of persons were expecting us to go deep into data cleaning, but I don't want to teach what you will learn on courses. I want you to learn what you don't see in tutorials and what you don't see in your courses, actually. So what we're going to do is I'm going to check only plant location information, and then I'm going to click on OK. Now, once I do this, the next thing I'm going to do is I'll do the same thing I did for my vendor, which is removing duplicates, okay? So I'll remove duplicates, and then I'm going to go ahead. You can say I now have 30 plant location, and then I'm going to go ahead, go to add column, index column, and I'm going to index from 1. And then I'll rename this to, I'll call this plant ID. Now, the next thing I want to do is to go to my category. Okay, I'll go to my category and I'll do the same thing. On my category, this is the only thing that is related on here. So I'll just go to home, replicate the same stuff, choose columns, and uncheck the box for this. Make sure it's only category that is selected. Click on OK, right click, and do remove duplicates. Okay, and then you want to go ahead and do add column, do what? From index from 1, index column from 1. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is go to material type, and we're just going to recreate the same thing, right? So I'll go to my transform, to my home tab rather, do choose columns again, and uncheck the box for select all column, and I'll just pick only material type this time around, and I'll click on OK. Okay, next thing I want to do is I'm going to do the same thing, remove duplicates from this, and do my add column. The add column is from index and from 1, is index column from 1, and then I'll call this one material ID. Did I even rename this? I didn't rename this. Let me do that. Category ID. And then I'll go to defect type now. No, it must not be from 1. You can decide to use from any number. You notice if you go to index column, right, you can do custom. But I just want to do like so that it's clear to everybody, and it's even clear for me, so I'm not complicating things for myself. Is that clear? Okay. So what I'm going to do now, on my defect type, I'll do the same thing. Go to my transform, I will go to choose columns, or to my home tab rather, choose columns, and I want to select material defect type, and I'll click on OK. And here as well, I want to remove the duplicates, and then add a column from index. I'll do from 1. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing for the next one, which is defect. Now somebody will ask me, why am I not putting defect and defect type? Now when you are doing this, remember I said the idea is to look for relationships. If you look at defects, okay, let's choose columns for defect so that you see what we have in defect, and you realize why I'm not putting both of them in one table. If you see defects and I click on OK, now for defects, if I see the defects type, I can't know what this, because my defect type has what? Impact, no impact, and rejected. It's not related to whatever the defect is in any way. The defect is like the problem wrong with the product, whether it's dirty or whether it's this thing. Somebody is asking me the purpose of index column. The purpose of this is we are trying to create a key for our table. You would understand shortly. So I'm right clicking on these two. I'll do remove duplicates, okay? And then what I want to do is I'm going to add a column, and I'll do my indexing from 1. And I'll just rename this to defect ID. I'll go to my defect type as well, rename this because I didn't do that initially, and I'll call this defect type ID. Okay. So now that we've successfully done this for all our tables, we've gotten our dimension tables now. Okay, now what we're going to do now is to sort of bring in those primary keys to this table, and I'll show you how to bring in those primary keys here, because that's what we'll connect in our Power BI. So what I want to do is I will go to my home tab and I will merge this table with all of my table. If, for example, you want your original table to still be there, you can create a new table where you are doing, for example, I can click on this, and instead of doing merge queries, I can do merge queries as new, right? So that I can keep my original data and I do merge queries as new. And when I do merge, it will bring up this. I'm sure we all know how to do merge. And I'll just select, I'll start with the first one, which is vendor, right? And what is vendor and vendor connected on, or what is the similarity? Is this vendor name here and this vendor name here? But I don't want to do a left join. I want to do an inner join this time around because I want corresponding matches, right? I don't know if if you don't know about joins, please just go and read about joins because it's something complicated that I don't want to listen. So I'm just going to do inner join, okay? So that I'm sort of getting the exact. So what it's going to do is it's going to give me wherever I want to make sure this is showing on my entire data set. So we're not getting. Okay, let me see something. I think I turned this off. Beautiful. Okay, so what I'm doing is an inner join. Okay, well, I'm moving quite fast. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry if I'm moving quite fast. I'm going to take it a little bit slower this time around. Please forgive me. Okay, you know what? We're going to take, I think I've been, okay, I wanted us to do this. Let's take a quick break. We're going to take just 2 minutes break and we'll be back. So I'll start from the merge part. Let me just delete this one. We'll start again from the merge part. Let's take let's take 5 minutes break. Please stretch your leg. Joins is not used. I'll be trying to answer questions while we're doing the break too. We're taking a major a break, but joins is not only used in Excel. Actually, you have your joins in Power BI as well. So, and it's the same way. If you understand joins in SQL, you understand what I'm trying to do here. But if you're following the class and you're enjoying the class, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Also, please drop comments. I want the class to be as interactive as possible, and also like the session, right? We're trying to build a project for your portfolio. So please let everybody subscribe. I think I'm on 936 subscribers. That is really amazing for a channel I started just last week. Okay, and I would love for it on this session. I want to get to 1,000 subscribers. That would be really, really amazing. So if you want to say thank you to me, please just get me to 1,000 subscribers. Thank you very much. So see you in the next 5 minutes. So 3:57 on the dot. We'll continue the session. By now, everybody should be coming back because we are hitting the 357 mark. So I need everybody coming back by now so that we can continue. So if you're back on the session, just give me a thumbs up, react on the drop a reaction, or so I'll know that you're back. So for those who are just joining in, we've already started for a while. You might want to start streaming from the beginning or wait till after the session and stream the entire thing. The recording will actually be available. So if the WhatsApp group is full, I sent another WhatsApp group link that you can actually join, right? I'm going to share that link again. So if you're, I'm going to share a link where the group is not full yet. Let me see. Okay, good, beautiful. It does not show. Paste. Okay, so if you're back, drop a reaction. I just sent the link to the WhatsApp message, the link to the WhatsApp group again. So if you're not on the WhatsApp group, you can just click on this link to join. And again, if you're yet to subscribe to the YouTube channel, please subscribe. I'm going to be sharing a lot of resources. There are actually great resources on the channel already, or one already. Oh, I should reduce my speed. Okay, I'll reduce my speed. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Apologies, ma. Okay, somebody is asking me the green tables. So if you don't have this green stuff on your own visual, it will mean that you have your column distribution and your column quality turned off. So if you want to see that, go to your view tab, turn on the column quality and the column distribution, and you will get a preview of all these things. I'm also not going to explain what this thing means because it's in beginner Power BI class, and I don't want to keep on explaining all those minimal things, but I'll try to reduce my pace now. Okay, I'll try to reduce my pace. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is we've been able to sort of duplicate this table because what we're trying to do is we're trying to build we're trying to split our data into facts and dimension tables so that we can model this data in Power BI, okay? So with the last thing we tried to do was duplicating this data and indexing them such that they have a key, right? Like a primary key. I'm not creating the green tables. I've mentioned this again. I'm not creating them. It comes with Power BI when you have your column quality and your column distribution. Like this is what you might see when you open Power BI for the very first time. Well, when you go to your view tab and you turn on column quality and column distribution, you're going to see that, okay? So if you are not following, the session is recorded. Please, you can always go back and leave. It's a lifetime access. It's going to be there forever. So even if you want to, some person are saying I should make it downloadable, no problem. So if you want to have access to it forever, it's going to be there, okay? So that let's just continue the session, okay? So now we've been able to split this into fact and dimension table. The next thing I want to do is we need to replicate our keys on our fact table because that is what we are going to be connecting, okay? So this is what we're going to do now. I'm going to merge these two tables so that I can bring in the key from my vendor table into this, and to do that I will use what we call merge in Power BI, and I'm going to right click on this, okay? I'm going to select this table and I'm going to merge queries because I want a new table and I don't want that my original old table. I will do because I just want to keep that old table. I'm going to do merge queries as new. Now, once I click on merge queries as new, the next thing I want to do is going to bring up this pop-up, okay? I want to now select the table that I'm working with, which is what? My vendor table. That is what I want to bring in. I want to bring in this vendor ID. And what is the similarity between these two tables? Is vendor and vendor. So I'll make sure both of them are selected. And you can see Power BI is telling me that, okay, it matches this from this table. And then because I don't want a left outer join whatever. I want an inner join such that I want to bring in this key so that anywhere it sees Brown's bug, you put 1. Anywhere it sees topic zoom, you put 2. Zoom bit, you put like that. That is what I want to do. So I'm going to use inner join. So only matching rules. That's what I want to see. And I'll click on OK. Now, once I do this, I'm going to rename this table. This is going to be my new table, and I'll just call this table supplier. Let me just call this supplier or supplier facts. Let me just call it supplier or supplier is fine, but let me just leave this like this. In the template you have, you might not have this like this, but I'm doing this so that it's very, very clear. Oh, there's no quicker approach to doing that if your columns count is like 20 plus in number. I'm so sorry, but that is why you're a data analyst. You will do it by assuming you have like 30 dimension. Yes, if you have 30 dimension tables, you will do it like that. That's why most times dimension tables of when it comes to building schemas and all of that, they are done by the engineers, right? They sort of do it in the database. That's for companies that are not working with Excel file, that are using, so you already have those dimensional tables already there, and you don't have to stress. You just have to go there, pick whatever you need, come into Power BI. Trust me, if you work in an organization where you have a good data engineer, you would enjoy. You don't need to stress like that. So the next thing we are going to try to do is we have gotten our vendor, right? This is the vendor table that I try to attach here. So what I'm going to do is, you can see this icon here is different from every other icon I have here. I'm going to try to expand. What do I want to see? I want to see only my vendor ID. So I would uncheck the box for select all column because I already have vendor, and I'm going to uncheck this box that says use original column as prefix, and I'm just going to do vendor ID, and I'll click on OK. And immediately it's going to give me all the vendor ID for that particular thing. Just a moment, I want to be sure this has not duplicated. Okay, my column profiling is based on 1000. Okay, beautiful. So now I have everything that has to do with vendor on one column, inside vendor ID on my column. Now the next thing we want to do is to add our second table, which is plants. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing, but we're not merging as new this time around. I'll just do merge queries because I already have my old table is still there, and I would select my plants. Okay, and I'll select plant location. I'll change my join kind to inner to be only matching rules, and I'll click on OK. Now the next thing I want to do is expand this as well and select all. I will check the box for select all column. I just only want to bring my plant ID, and I'll click on OK. Something I always like to do most times is I like to look at the column distribution to be sure that my column profile, to be sure my data has not, because sometimes you might mistakenly go and press left join or right join and you don't know. So if the count of your data, you should be looking at it. It should not be more than the original data size. It should be the exact data size when you're doing something like this. So you really need to be careful, right? Because the count of our original data is what? 526 as well. If I do this, column profiling based on entire data sets, and I select a column, I can see that the count is 526 here. So you have to be very careful. Now let's go back to our supplier facts table. Now I've added plant ID, right? Now let's go to table number 3, which is my category ID. Oh my God, I don't think these 2 days will be enough. So I'm going to click on merge queries. I honestly don't want to rush anything. I want to be able to make sure that everybody understands. So even if it's one project you're successfully able to do, I can record every other one. So what we're going to do, the next thing is I'm going to go ahead here and click on what? I'm going to click on my my category. That's the next one, right? So I'm going to click on category, which is this, and select category here. I want to change my join kind to what? Inner, and I will do OK. Now, the next thing I want to also do is expand this one to uncheck this box and select only category ID and bring this. So I'm just replicating the same thing across. I hope you understand. That's what I'm doing here. So I would go back again, do merge queries. I've done for category. So let me do for material type. I'll select material type now. Select material type here. Do the same thing and select this for inner. And then I'm going to click on OK. And then I want to expand that. If you don't understand what I'm doing, please ask question. I'll uncheck the box for this and just select my material ID because that's what I want to bring into this table. I'm just trying to bring in all those primary keys into my facts table. And then I'll do this last one, or the second to the last one, defect type, merge queries, and I'm going to go ahead and choose what? Defect type, and I'll select defect type and defect type, and I'll change my join kind to inner, and I'll click on OK. And then I'm going to expand this one, and then the next thing I want to do is uncheck this and just select defect type ID, click on OK. Then for the last one, which is my defect type, I'll do my merge queries, and I'm going to select defects. I'll select defects here. I'll select defects on this place as well. So, and I'm going to click on inner and do OK. And the last one thing I want to do here is expand this, uncheck the box for select, and I would select defect ID as well, and voila. I will just do another cross check to be sure that I have not added extra data. And I still have my original number, 52226. Good. Now, the merge is saying select the same number of columns. It means you don't have anything in one table that is not in another table. So all the things I have in my facts table, I have them appearing. Like all the unique values in my fact table, I have them appearing as well in those dimension table. That is what that thing you're getting, or that message means. Beautiful. Now we've been able to convert all these things. Now there's something that there's something I like to do, or that is actually very recommended when you're working with primary keys like this or unique identifiers. It's just best to convert them as text data type, and I'll do this across my dimensions and across here. So I'll change this to text. I'll change this to text data type. There's a reason why we do that. I don't think I want to go into all the explanation. We're running out of time. I'm sorry, but it's just best if you have numerical values in your data that you cannot actually perform summarization or analysis on. It's just best to leave them as text data type. Just quick one, I wanted to put this in between. This session was just meant to be for Power BI Project Club members, but I decided to make it open. And if I knew I was going to make it open, I would have probably made provisions into teaching some, because I know they will struggle with all these things, because I've taught most of these things that majority of these things we are doing, I've taught it in class, so they probably understand what I'm trying to do here. So, and it looks like I'm rushing or I'm not explaining a lot of things, so please forgive me in that case. What I'm just going to do is I'll share resources, or I'll probably record videos to help you understand. Okay, thank you for understanding. So I would also share the same thing. I'll do the same thing across all board by changing this to text data type. What do you do if there are duplicates? So now here's the thing: your facts table can contain duplicates, right? While your dimension table must be unique. So what you have in your fact table are foreign keys, and foreign keys can be duplicated. I I would have used a real life example to sort of explain this, but it's okay. Like the way it was is your primary key must not contain duplicates. You can look at if you look at this dimension table we have here, you can see we don't have duplicates. But if I go to my fact table, for example, you're going to see a lot of tables. I'm doing this as beginner friendly as possible. If you have learnt Power BI, if you've learnt Power BI, you should have learnt all these things because they are basic. I'm sorry to be this thing because I feel like these are basic things people should teach in tutorials or lesson, and I'm just going to try to explain some of these things because it feels like I'm skipping a lot of things, right? And we have just few hours. We're working with a very little hour, right? So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to explain some of the questions, and some of these questions you have, right? Maybe while you're watching the recording, please just leave a message on the group. I'll try to answer all questions, but it's very important we even try to complete the project, okay? So I'm really sorry if I'm moving too fast or I'm not explaining some concepts. Primary key, now the purpose of your primary key is your primary key is sort of like a unique identifier for your data, right? For an example, I'm going to give an instance now. For an example, you as a resident of a country, you probably have a passport or an identification number, passport number, identification number. That number is a unique identifier. No other person can have that particular number. Or let me even use the instance of school. When you were in school, right, as a department, you had a reg number, right, or a reg number or a matriculation number. That number is your primary key, okay? That is your primary key. Can you explain the purpose of your primary key? And what if the dimension table has more one column apart? One has more than one column apart from the primary key. How will you merge? So if it has one more column, it's the same way. You just have to add that column to your. You don't need to add that column to your fact table, because the idea of fact table or trying to split your table into fact table and dimension table is you're trying to split your table in a way that reduce redundancy and to the possible smallest unit. That is what you're just trying to do when you're splitting this data, okay? I hope I've been able to answer that question correctly. Oh, I didn't change the ID yet. We're still in Power Query. We've never started analyzing. Oh god, I would have done 2 hours. People should just permit me if we do one dashboard in 2 weekends, because I don't want to rush the class. Okay, beautiful. Yes, two people cannot have the same NIN or matric numbers. Exactly, that is what the primary key is. Thank you for that explanation. Okay, good. Now we have our facts table, we have our dimension table. What's the next step? We load into our Power BI desktop. So we're going to load this to our Power BI desktop now. And what you just need to do is be very careful. You want to click on close and apply, or apply if you still want your Power Query window open. But I'm just going to click on close and apply. Please, any questions so far? We following? What's any comments, negatives? Please. Hi everyone. I'm so sorry about the glitch. I don't know what happened, but OBS Studio that I'm using to stream this just crashed. So I'm going to go back, share my screen, and I'll probably take it because I know where the session got cut off was while our data was trying to load into Power BI. Okay, so I'm just trying to wait for a couple of persons to join the session back up before we continue. Okay, so please, you can just drop a message in the on the chat box, even in the group, to make sure that everybody knows that we're back up. Let's get the number up. Okay, I can see that the numbers are coming back up, so that everybody is here and we will just continue the session. Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Sincerely apologize for that brief problem. Please permit me, or I didn't see it coming. I'm so sorry about that. Please pardon me. Can you hear me now? Okay, somebody's saying they can hear me. Please, everybody should confirm that they can hear me. Please confirm you can hear me clearly. Okay, I think we have a great number back up, 251. 250. Oh, everybody can hear me. Thank you very much. All right. So, if there are a couple of conversations on the WhatsApp group that I'm even confused. Okay, all right. Okay. The last thing we did, right, was where our data loaded into our Power BI desktop. And I mentioned something that somebody mentioned something about why are we not having our date table, right? And I said something about why are we not duplicating the dates? And I mentioned something about how it's best to create a date table because you want Power BI to be able to address that particular table as your date table. And for you to do that, all you need to do is go to your model view and you just do new table. So for me, I already have this sheet where I probably like have a calendar table DAX that I've created that I sort of just work with, okay? That I just recreate the DAX and I use that particular sheet for any table I want to work with. But if you want to create a calendar table, we make use of two functions in Power BI, and those are your calendar auto and your add columns, and I'll tell you what both of these things are sort of doing. Now, if you want to create a calendar table, all you just need to do is go to your data view, click on new table. Okay? Once you click on new table, you want to name your table, give your table a name. So date. This is beyond the scope of this class, or I don't want to teach this, but let's just do that for the purpose, for the benefit of those that don't know how to create a calendar table. So you want to do date and use the add columns function. What does add columns function does? It creates a table and creates columns, right? It returns a columns with returns a table with specific columns. So what you're going to do is in this add column, I'm just going to go to the next step because I like my DAX very, very readable, right? So that it's clear for anybody to see. So I'm going to use a calendar auto function. Now, what does calendar auto does? Calendar auto goes through your entire data set and look at the list and the oldest dates, right? That's the oldest and the earliest dates, right? That is what your calendar auto does. It looks at the oldest and the earliest dates in your table and sort of creates a table for you, create a date table for you. The next thing, so this calendar table will generate a date that contains the from the oldest date in your dates to the lowest date. So if, for example, in your sales date, you have data starting from 10th of January to this August, right? What your calendar table is going to do is it's going to sort of create it's going to start from 1st of January 2024 to 31st of December 2024. That is what calendar auto does. Now the next thing I want to add, I want to be able to visualize my data by year. So I will add year, and I want to call that column year, okay? And I'm just going to do command 2. For me to extract the year, I want to extract the year from the date. So I would write YEAR function, and if you look at the year function, it extracts the year as a 4-digit number. So I'm going to write date, and I'll close that bracket, and I'll do comma. That's my second column, right? The first column is The first column is my dates table, which I have here as my calendar auto. The next thing I want to do is to add my quarter, and for that I would also do a quarter, comma, and I'm going to use the quarter function in this case, or maybe format the quarter as Q1 or whatever, but I can do this to just call this my dates, and I'll click on, oh god, not enter yet, close, thank god. I'll close this bracket and I'm going to move to the next line, and then just like that I will add every other information I need, right? Because I've created this before, I don't want to spend a lot of time doing this, so I'm just going to click on this thing. I just wanted to show you how to do this. I don't want to spend a lot of time generating calendar table. This is also something now, because I already have a date, that's why it's telling me. So what I just, if I rename this as date 2 and I click on enter, now you see it has generated different, like those things I put here, right? If I do for months and everything, so here is the DAX here. That is what I've written in this dates table, and like I said, I've shared a template where you can see all these DAX calculations I've written here. If you check this template, this PBI, just download this PBIX file and open it, you will see the date, this thing in that template file. Okay, the next thing I want to do, I'm just going to delete that date table I created to sort of give an explanation on how to create date table. So I'm going to delete this. So delete from model. Yes. Now once I do that, what I want to do is I'm going to go to my dates. Okay, I'm going to go to my dates session here. All right, and what I want to do is I'm going to select this. I'm going to mark this as my dates table, and for me to do that, I'll select these dates. I'll go to my table tools, and under this table tools I'll see mark as dates table. Why I'm doing this is because I want to tell Power BI that use this as my dates table. Anytime I talk about dates, this is my dates table, and then I'll just turn this on your own. It might be off. I just did that, I didn't know I was off. Turn this on, right? It's going to be like this normally. Toggle this button on, choose a column and do dates, and then what I want to do is click on, excuse me, save. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is to go back go to my modeling view now and connect all those tables I brought into Power BI. So all the table we loaded, we're going to connect this table. Okay, and I always like to arrange my table such that I just have my dimensions on top and very clear to see, so that I know what I shouldn't have loaded this one in, and I'm going to go back to Power Query and disable load for it. So I don't want to load this supplier quality. I just want to see only my facts table that I have, right? So go back to Power Query Editor. All you need to do is click on Transform Data, and it will bring you back to Power Query Editor. So on this place, I'm going to right click because I don't want to see this table in my this thing. I will just do disable load, right? And I will do continue. And then what I want to do is I will do close and apply. So I'll just wait for that changes to apply, and voila, it's gone. Okay, I no longer have that on my table, so I can focus on only my dimension table. So I'll just set that like this so that I can see all the information clearly that I've put. Okay, the last one is material types here. Oh God, where is it? Okay. Okay. So I'm just trying to arrange my tables. This is nothing special, but I always like to, so that it's very beautiful when somebody comes to look at your back end or your model and you have a beautiful model there. I'm going to leave my table over here. I can also place it on top of there, but I'll leave my table here. Now we'll start with number 1 here, defect type. So what I want to do is I want to join primary key to foreign key. So I'll start with my defect type ID, and I'm going to carry this and I'll place it on defect type ID. And you can see it will bring up this pop-up, right? And that just shows me, okay, defect type ID, defect type ID. I don't know why this thing is very slow. I want to be sure that is showing everything because I want to explain a couple of things. Good. Now, and it's showing also a one to many for. Yes, you can use these dates for any of your data sets. This dates table that I created now, you can use it for any of your data sets. It would pick the highest and the lowest data sets in your dates in your table. So now you can see, this is a one-to-many relationship, which is actually correct, right? Because you have this one of this and many of this here. So I'm just going to click on save. I'm going to answer all the questions later, probably in a video or everything, but I don't want us to keep going back. So let's just continue. And I'm going to connect the defect ID to the defect ID. So the idea, I wanted everybody to, after I was mentioning, you need to have a solid understanding of Power BI if you want to build a project in Power BI. So you might probably want to go back to your tutorials if you've not learned all these things before, because all these things I'm doing now, I taught them in the Power BI bootcamp, and I know it's going to be a seamless process for most of them. And I'm going to click on save. The next thing is my category ID. So what we are doing is we are connecting primary key to foreign key. So I'll do the same thing for here, and I'll do save. I'm going to do the same thing for my plant ID. Okay, plant ID, yeah, and I'll do save. And the last one is material ID, save. And the last one is my vendor ID, okay? And let's vendor ID. Oh shit. I'd have to scroll down a bit and pick this and place. Now, if you see this, who can tell me what type of schema we have here? What type of schema do we have here? I need somebody to tell me what kind of schema we have. I'm going to connect my dates as well. I should have my dates here. Good. So dates to dates, and I'll do save. I need your response in the chat. This thing. Oh, if you want to move to the next line, shift plus enter. Okay, star schema, very correct, beautiful. So this is an example of a star schema model, and a star schema is that one in which your fact table is surrounded by the dimension table. Okay, so now we have successfully transformed our data. We've done data transformation, we've done data modeling. These are things you can talk about. We started from figuring out our problem, right? Let's go back to our slides so that we know that we are on the correct place. So now the first thing we tried to do was we understood our objective, right? We looked at our data set, we went through the data transformation, like data cleaning to data transformation phase, and we've completed data modeling. What's the next stage? Data analysis. So we're going to try to do a lot of analysis. Now, we might not be able to complete the visualization, but we'll do that tomorrow. But let's go into our analysis now. Are we going at a good pace or not? Oh, okay. Can I zoom in? I'm trying to zoom in, but you might not be able to see the entire thing. But I'll try to zoom in on my reports when I'm trying to build. So let's go to our reports view now. Yes, you can rearrange it to look like a star, but sometimes I don't like to do that because when I do that, it looks scattered sometimes. And I can't find other. It's better this way. I can see all the tables I have, and I can see my fact table almost immediately. Beautiful. I hope we're all learning something, because it will be a shame that I'm just talking, or I've been talking for the past 3 hours and we're not picking anything at all. If you have learned something new in this class, Drop it in the comment section. Just say I've learned something new. If you have learned something new from this class, do that. Just drop it in the session, in the comment session. So the next thing we're going to do now is we want to create our measures table. We want to start writing measures, our calculations, right? And when you want to start writing calculations, the very first step that you do, right, you create a dedicated measures table. One of my favorite way of, don't know how I brought in the date table. Okay, like I mentioned, my date was already there, right? Because I have this PBIX that I created for this. You can go back and watch the recording. You will see how I have these dates that I just recreate with every report that I do. So you can copy and paste these dates with every report you want to use. You can create one date table that you are just using for every report. So there's actually one that is even complex than this one that I use. That one is I'll probably show that one in the insurance report. So we'll start building that. Now, to create a data model, I'm going to come here and do enter data. You can do that by creating a new table with DAX, but I'll just do this because of my beginner friends on this call. So I'll do enter data, okay? And I'm just going to call this, I'll put an underscore because I want it to be in front. I'll call this my measures. So the first measures table I want to create is, let me call this one, instead of measures, I'll call this defect quantity. So this is going to hold everything every calculation that has to do with my defect quantity. I don't need this underscore. Let me just call it defect quantity. I'm going to create a couple of different measures table, and I'll do load. I'll create another one that will host all my. The reason why I do this sometimes, you can decide to do this and just maybe group them like in a folder. But sometimes when I just start, I like to do this almost immediately. Okay, so I will enter another data, and this one I would call it my downtime. So I'll write every calculation that has to do with downtime will go into this table. Let me also mention that you might have another way of doing things. It's totally fine, right? I'm here to learn too, and we are all learning together. But as long as it works, that's the idea and that's the goal. So you might have another way of doing this, and it's totally fine. But I'm making sure that this is as beginner friendly as possible. Then I will do another one that might contain, maybe I want to calculate my defect reports, right? And I can have this. I'll keep creating as the need be, but let me load this one. So I'm going to start from my defect quantity. So I'm going to try to calculate my information about my defect quantity, and some of the information I want to calculate. First of all, I will start with my base measures for almost all these things. Okay, I want to start with my base measures. What are base measures? They are those measures that you will probably later reference in other measures when you are doing your time intelligence calculation. Okay, so what do I want to do? I'm going to load this in, and I'm going to start with one of my base measures from some of these tables. Load. Okay, good. And for my defect quantity, basically we're focusing on our metrics. I already mentioned what those metrics are. We have only 2 metrics in this data. So I'm going to first start by I will select that column and I'll do new measure. All these measures I'm writing now, they're already in the table or in that particular table. So I'll do new measure, and I want to call this one my total defect quantity. So I'll call this total defect quantity. And total defect quantity is just going to be the sum of the entire defective product, which is my in my data. I think if you just go to Supplier now, for those of you that probably joined this session to learn DAX, so let me make this more this. We are creating a measure. A measure is sort of like you are creating a calculation, and when you want to create a calculation, you have to give your calculation a name, right? And then we are using a sum function because we want to see the total defect quantity. And when you're using DAX, you have to reference a table name and a column name. Okay, so what you are doing now is I'm going to click on sum and I'm going to click on total defect quantity, which is what I want to calculate. I'll close that bracket and I'm going to click on enter. Okay, beautiful. Now we have total defect quantity. Since I have my measure here, I'm going to hide this column 1 so that Power BI detects this table as my measure table. You can see it's in table format here, but I want to change this such that it shows this as a measures table. So I'm going to just come here and hide this column 1. I'll just click on it. That's the options, and hide it. If I right click, you will see hide and just hide it. Now Power BI is detecting it as a measures table. This icon that you see here that shows like a calculator is what shows you that this is a measures table. Okay. Interesting question. Is there a reason the categorical data were deleted from the supplier? Since the fact table contains both the ID columns and the actual categorical column. So very good observation. So we were supposed to remove those things from our original table because that was the essence of creating a model. But I'm sorry, it skipped my mind. I feel ashamed to say that, but the whole internet glitch and everything, or everything that was happening, made me forget to actually remove that. But when you're working on it, you can actually delete the please, can everybody hear me? Please confirm that you can hear me clearly. Can you hear me? Just reload. Confirm you can hear me, please. Oh, beautiful. I want to be sure that everybody can hear me. Thank you very much. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is calculate the total downtime cost. Did everybody understand how I calculated my total defect quantity? I hope everybody did, right? Again, I'm just dropping this here. If you are yet to subscribe to the YouTube channel, please, that would be a very big thank you for me. Subscribing to we are on 988 now, so that's beautiful. And I want to be able to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of this session. And we have like 1 hour, 6 minutes or 7 minutes thereabouts to go. So I definitely think we can do it. We're on 988 already. Okay, so I'm going to calculate my total downtime now, right? Oh, good. I'm in the wrong visual table. Everybody already know how I did total defect quantity. So now we're going to calculate our total downtime. And to calculate the total downtime, that would also be the sum of downtime in minutes. But something I did was I tried to look at industry standard in manufacturing company, and this is very important. That's why it's very important to do research when you're working with data. Okay, it's very important to do research in your data. So now when you're doing research, you will realize that in manufacturing companies, people can correct me if I'm wrong, especially those that work in manufacturing, they calculate their downtime in hours and not necessarily minutes. Like they track downtime by hours, but the downtime we have here is in minutes, right? So we might necessarily have to convert it to hours as well. But for now, let's just get the total downtime in minutes. So I'll do a new measure again, and I'm going to go ahead and do, I'll call this total downtime equals to sum, okay, of what? Sum of my downtime minutes. And there I have my total downtime. So I'm just going to put a minute in front so that I know this is my total downtime minutes in front of the name. And I'll do the same thing to this column 1 and sort of hide it. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is to get my total defect report, and for my total defect report is the count of all my rows, right? So I would also do a new measure, making sure that I'm resting on that table, of course, and I'm going to please confirm you can hear me. Everybody should be able to hear me. If you cannot hear me, just refresh your screen. Just refresh your screen if you can't hear me. All right, the next thing I want to do is my total defect report. So total defect report equals to my count rows. I can either do a count rows or something that has to do with distinct counts. So, but I'm going to go for a count rows and my entire table, which is my supplier facts. And I'll click on enter. So those are the total reports. Okay. I don't know if everybody is following, but I'm going to do a brief recap, right? So what we've been able to do in the past couple of hours, I want us to take a 3 minutes break. When we come back, I'll do that recap. Please, let's go on a 3 minutes break. We'll be back by 5 on the dot. 5:00 on the dot. 5 o'clock on the dot. I'm sure everybody's back by now. I'm certain everybody's back by now. Are we tired? Are we tired? Is the timing too long? If you're not back, start coming back. Tell your friends. Drop a message in the WhatsApp group. Are you? Everybody should be back now. Please let me know if you can hear me. We took a break, so I want people to be back. Is everybody back now? Is everybody following? If you want to get the DAX function, I know some people are still dropping messages. Go to the drive. On the drive, you will see this template inside the supplier inside. You see the supplier quality and performance dashboard template. Just download it. You will see all the DAX I'm writing here. For example, the first DAX that's why I'm trying to even create folders, right? The first DAX we've written, which is total defect quantity, you will see that in this defect quantity place. So you can just look through that. Same thing, but if you want to learn, it's best you just look at, oh, she wrote it like this, let me go and write it so that if it gives you error, you know where your error is coming from, rather than just doing a copy and paste. I've been there before, so I know what people can do. Okay, I'm going to do a brief recap. Are we tired? First of all, is the timing too long? We've been going on, everybody clap for yourself. We've been going at this for 3 hours now. So we are on the 4th hour mark. So a big congratulations to all of us, and we've done really great. At least we can talk about the data cleaning, the business understanding, data cleaning, and the data modeling part of this data. Yes, we are back from break. Can everyone hear me clearly? Can everyone hear me clearly? If you can hear me clearly, please just give me a, okay, people are not tired. Beautiful. The timing is not much. Good. All right. Everybody saying they are good. Okay. Interesting. You don't want to pity teacher. You should pity teacher too. All right. Let's continue. Don't mind me. So what we're going to do is, right now, I'm going to do a brief recap, right? So what we're trying to do or what we've been trying to do for the past 3 hours is to analyze supplier quality data and to figure out issues. And we've started with understanding the business problem, and we've realized that what they want to do is they want to reduce downtime and save cost, okay? And then we've been able to take that data into Power BI, transform it in such a way that we are even creating our own dimension table from what we already have, okay? And then what did we do next? We loaded that data into Power BI and connected our primary keys to our foreign key, went ahead to create our date table as well and connected that to that table, and now we are creating our measures. So if you were lost before, I hope this summary has been able to bring you back or find you. So we are trying to create measures, and to create measures, I've been able to create dedicated measures table, okay? And this dedicated measures table that I've created, you can see them there. I created one for defect reports, another one for downtime, and another one for our defect quantity. And these are just our base measures, and we're going to be using them or calling them in other measures that we're going to be writing. So one thing I'm going to try to calculate now is, fine, we know our total defect quantity. We're going to we're going to try to look at if the defect quantity, because if you look at your data, let's go and look at our data to see how many years of data we even have. That is another beautiful thing that you need to also pay attention to. So if I go to my supplier facts and I go to my date table, right? You will see that I have, okay, I'm trying to do this. I have just 2018 and 2019 data in this. So we have 2 years, right? Now we want to be able to track, because I mentioned something about context, storytelling. That is where it comes into play. Now, most persons will build, I've seen reports like that, I've seen dashboard like that. So when people build, especially beginners, when they build their projects, you just see they'll put total sales, total quantity, unit price. Like those are good. I'm not saying those are not good, but when you add context to those numbers, it makes your analysis look richer, which is what we're going to do in this report we are building. So yes, we know our total defect quantity is this amount, right? Let's even place it on a visual. so that we can be looking at it. We know our total defect quantity is this 3 billion, right? Now, it will be important to see if maybe there's a decrease from last year. So how many defect quantity do we have in 2018, and how does that compare to the number of defect quantity we have in 2019? Are we recording less defect quantities? Okay, that is when we call that is an example of storytelling. Another example, that is an example of storytelling. Sorry, I just saw Samuel's comment asking me to go 3 hours. I think I would bring Samuel on board so that we'll continue from where I stopped. You can continue the remaining 3 hours. So we want to be able to calculate like the total defect quantity we were making by this time last year. So we're going to use a function in Power BI called same period last year. We're going to make use of our calculate function and the same period last year information. So what I want to do is on my defect quantity, I'm going to do new measure. I mistakenly clicked on new column. Okay. So I'm going to click on new measure. First thing first, on all these tables, I want to hide this column 1 so that he sees that as my measures table. So I'm going to go to my defect quantity table. I will just right click and do new measure, or come to my measure tools and click on new measure, and I'll call this one defect quantity same period last year. And I'm going to call what I'm going to use is I will do a calculate. Let me tell you one secret thing about DAX. Don't try to cram the syntax. What you need to understand is how it works, the logic behind it, right? If you understand the logic, understanding the syntax, it becomes easy, because some things you can do is you'll be able to prompt ChatGPT very well to even give you what you need. But if you don't understand the logic, even if ChatGPT gives you a code, like you go and prompt it, you will not even know if it's correct or not, right? So what we're trying to do now is we are calculating our total defect quantity. So because I've already calculated that before, I'm not going to come and do sum again. I'll just reference this one. So calculating total defect quantity, comma, and I'm calculating it for the same period last year using my dates table. So same period last year, and I'll click on enter. Now if I bring this thing on a visual, we would probably not need to bring it on a visual. If I bring this thing on a visual, I can see inside of this 3 billion, right? 1 billion was last year. Meaning like we're making we're getting 2 billion extra defect quantity, which is a problem. Now to be able to add even more context to that, what we're going to try to do is I'm going to sort of calculate. Another thing I would first of all calculate, I'll also do, okay, let's even do a month comparison to, like, okay, I want to see how much the defect quantity for last month. That is another thing I want to see on my data, right? So I would create a new measure on this place. We've seen last year. Let's see last month now. Total, I'm going to call this total defect quantity. Previous months. I'll just call previous months by using PM. Total defect quantity, previous months. And what we're basically doing is I'm going to use my calculate total defect quantity. So I'm saying calculate my total defect quantity, comma, but use a parallel period, meaning my parallel period you're going to be using is previous month. So -1, remove, like go back to the last month. So I'll do a parallel period of my dates, right? Now you can see one thing about Power BI, when you start writing this function, it tells you what it does, right? It returns a parallel period of dates by the given set of dates and a specified interval. So we have to specify the dates, which is actually our date table. If I put a comma now, it goes to number of intervals. The blue icon goes to number of intervals. And the number of intervals I want is the previous month. So last month, if I wanted last 2 months, I'll put 2, or if I wanted last 3 months, I'll put 3, and then I'll put comma. Then the interval I want it to use is months. So I'm going to type months, and I'll close this bracket, and I'll click on enter. If I bring this here, we can also see like the number of our total defect quantity in the previous month. Is this correct? Let me see if I did this thing. Calculate total defect quantity. This is strange. I'll figure out why I'm having this value as we proceed. Okay, so the next thing I want to do here is I'm going to also do the year over year and the month over month of this. But for my for me to be able to do that, I would okay, I have my previous year, so I'll just use the current year that I have. So for me to calculate my year over year growth, right, to sort of see what the problem, or if I'm making, if I'm progressing on the or I'm regressing, what I'm going to do is I would write to calculate my year over year. I would create a new measure here, okay, and I will do YOY. I will call this YOY growth of defects quantity. Please, I hope everybody can still hear me. I hope everybody can still hear me. Who is stuck? So if I want to know if my result is correct, something I can just quickly do, right, is I can go ahead and I'll bring a table visual. Let me just create an additional page. So let's troubleshoot together. So let's know if it's not correct or if it's correct. So I'm going to bring a table visual, and I will put my date, or my month and year actually. I'm going to put my month. Good. Let me put my month. Okay, no, not my month number, my month name. And I'm just going to take my year and place it on a filter on this visual. Oh, I need to also sort my months so that it doesn't show like this. It needs to show from January to December, right? So when you have data like this, you want to be sure that it shows in the correct chronological order. So I'm just going to go to that date table, and then what I want to do is I'm going to go to my month name, sort by column, sort by month. I'll go to month name short as well and do the same thing. Sort by column, I'm sorting it by that month number. The reason why we're doing this is so that when Power BI sees one, it knows it's January. So that is what we are doing. Now we have January, February sorted out properly. Okay. So now I want to do a basic filtering. And this would show me just 2018 data. So I'm going to bring my total defects quantity. Like how everybody said, or somebody said, no, that's too much. Oh, that's probably too much. So, which is actually correct. Okay, this is same period last year. Is this the same period last year that we total defect quantity? Okay, let me bring this one. What was that one that gave us 2 billion? Okay, it's months that gave us 2 billion. Okay, it's a month that gave us 2 billion, not this thing. Well, it's possible. It might be possible because it's looking at 2 data. Let's check. Previous month, right? That's what we want to look at, not defect quantity. Good. 126. Let me see. filter this for 2019. Okay, it's working perfectly. Okay, good. So it's actually correct. Now the thing is, because it's speaking, well, by the time we put a filter to this, I'm sure we're going to get, so our, you can see it's actually very correct because this is doing previous months. Oh, let me make this bigger. I don't think we'll be able to see my better. Let me just increase the values. So that's sometimes when you're analyzing data, you see one number that would scare you and you're not sure that maybe it's actually correct. Now look at what is happening on the screen now. This is actually doing what it's supposed to do, because a previous month is supposed to give you the data for the previous month, right? So for example, now for January, it's giving me like January results here. Now this 995 will be for 2018 December, right? I'm filtering for the current year, which is 2019. 935, this is it. 142, 102. So you can see that it's correct, but because of we have all of them all checked in, that is why it's giving us that 2 billion. You can see the results here, right? That is what it's doing because of this entire year context being applied to it. I hope we all understand. I hope we all understand. Okay. Somebody says different from 2018, and I'm looking at 2018. It's actually the difference. It's actually the same, right? You have 102, 101, 101. So it's actually working. So we've done the correct calculation. Clap for yourself, everybody. We're doing this together. Regardless of the fact that I've done this before, I might have forgotten something that we would learn together on this call. All right, now the next thing we're going to calculate, or what we're trying to calculate the year over year growth, right? So I'm just going to call this YOY growth. We might not be able to complete all these calculations today, but let's get to a place. I don't mind. Defect quantity equals to, when you want to do calculate year over year growth, what you are basically doing is you are dividing the subtraction of your same period last year from the current year divided by your defect quantity, right? That is what you're trying to do to sort of get the. Okay, so now if somebody's asking why he gave 2 billion, or we just wanted to know just for last month, by the time you apply your filter contest, like you apply your slicers to all these things, it will work. I'm sorry, tax is okay. Let me not say anything. Yes, tax can scatter your head and all that, but it takes practicing for you to get better, because I'm also still perfecting my that skill as well. So what we want to do is we want to divide our total defect quantity minus the defect quantity of last year. Then we're dividing that by the defect quantity of last year, and I'm going to click on OK. And you can see the percentage in like decline, because if it's an increase, somebody should tell me if it's an increase, is it a good thing? If it's an increase in defect quantity, is it a good thing? Okay, I would explain the year over year again. So for the year over year, what we are just doing is you are minusing current year minus last year divided by your last year. So that is what we do in your that's what we do in year over year. Okay, we have 30 more minutes to go. I'll probably round the class up very soon. All right, so the next thing I want to do is to get my, since I've done year over year growth, I'll do the same thing for month over month growth. So it's just going to be my For that calculation, I'll just do my total defect quantity minus the one for the previous month and divide that by the total quantity of the previous month as well. So that is what I want to do. So I'm going to create a new measure. This is the part that nobody gets to see, where you're writing all of all these calculations. And it's important you get all of your calculations first before you start thinking of design or any of those extra things you want to start thinking of. If you have very solid information and calculations you put on your reports, design becomes less of an issue. In fact, sometimes what you start struggling with is how many you want to put and how many you want to leave out and what story you want to tell. So I'm going to call this MOM growth defect quantity, and this would also be the same thing. I'll just do total divide. Oh good. So it's going to be my divide oh, it's not a good thing. Good. That means you understand what is going on. So it's a bad thing, right? True. So we're going to actually do that. We're going to display all of that. X, you'll be giving faulty or wrong insights. Beautiful. That means you understand what people are good data analysts, you see. So what are we dividing? We are dividing same total defect quantity minus the total defect quantity of the previous month, comma, and then I'm doing divided by also the total quantity of the previous month. So the same thing, calculation for your this thing. Now if I decide to bring in a slicer to explore this, you realize that everything is working as it should. But for now, we still have to write all of our calculations before we start doing that. I think we've done a couple of things here. We've done okay, I need to move this. I created this here, which is wrong. So I'll just move this to my defects quantity. Everyone, confirm you can still hear me on the call. I want to be sure I'm still audible enough. Yes, I would modify this to a percentage actually. This is not how it's supposed to be. We need to modify it as a percentage, and we are going to do all of all this. We're going to do all of all this once we bring in the data to our Power BI. Okay, good. Okay, you can hear me. Beautiful. All right, we're going to continue. I need to do the same thing I did for my defect quantity here. I'm going to do that on this. Okay, good. If you want to see that, let's sort of do a comparison since we want to be looking at that. Let's do a comparison, okay? And we're going to also bring in a slicer to sort of look at it. So we calculated our total defect quantity. We did one for same period last year. I'm going to use a table. It's faster to see everything clearly there. Okay, I think I have one on page 3 here. Good. Previous month. I'm going to remove that filter. I applied on this field as well. And then I will just bring in the month-over-month growth and also the year-over-year growth as well. This will not show anything because of I'm filtering for just 1 year. Let's see. Good. Now you can see everything on this particular thing. Now if you're comparing February against February last year, this was the result. If you're okay, let me convert my month over month to percentage as well. So you can also see that, like, let's visualize that on the distance. Something else I always like to do is I like to put a comma between my DAX so that it's easily readable, because this is scary on the eye. I'll do the same thing for the defect quantity, same period last year. Beautiful. Okay, now we can see what all the calculations that we've created, right? And you can easily compare at a glance what exactly is actually happening, right? Now, if you want to sort of interpret this result, for example, right, there was a decrease in the defect quantity reports we got in January. If I'm looking at this thing from a glance, I think I can point the time when we had the highest decrease in defect quantity, or highest decrease, yeah, in defect quantity was in July, right? So if you were to advise an organization, you want to tell them to probably maybe you want to investigate the data more to check if there are probably vendors that we didn't use that month again, that we're not giving or probably can everybody hear me, please? Oh God. I didn't connect to this one. Please, can everybody hear me? I'm not playing again. I don't understand. Oh, thank you very much. I was surprised when someone said they could not hear me again. Oh, thank you. All right, sorry about that. My internet is connected to my lights, and I don't know why they just keep turning on the lights and turning it on and off at intervals. So like it just goes off and comes back on. So I'm connected to a different internet now, and I hope this one doesn't disconnect. All right, let's continue. So you can see the result of whatever analysis that we've done, right? But we still have a couple more to go. I think I mistakenly clicked on refresh actually, but I'll just cancel this because I don't want to see it. Good. Now let's go. Something we can do is sort of create trend icons for this, right? But we won't do this now. I'll do it probably when I'm trying to do my visualizations. I'll probably add those things there. We'll write those down. So let's go to downtime now and try to create our DAX for our downtime. Okay, let's continue. Sorry, I had to take water for a moment. I was joking. So we want to calculate our downtime minutes, and I'll start with just the same thing I did for the other one, right? I'll try to calculate the total downtime, same period last year. So I'll just come to my downtime table, okay? And just right click. And I'll do new measure. And then I'm going to call this a total downtime. Okay, now I don't want to see this as, I want to be able to do my calculation in hours. Remember I mentioned something about how industry, manufacturing industry, they calculate their downtime they calculate their downtime in hours, not in minutes, right? So we are going to do that, and for you to do your total downtime in hours, you just have to divide your total downtime minutes by 60. That is how to actually change that. So what you just need to do is, I'm going to call this total downtime hours and equals to, What am I calculating? My total downtime minutes divided by 60. And it's going to give me my total downtime hours. Okay, now the next thing I want to sort of do is I want to find the total downtime hours same period last year. So I'll create a new measure. And I'm going to do total downtime hours same period last year. Somebody said this thing looks like supply. It's not supply, it's same period last year. And that would also be a calculate the total downtime hours, comma, same period last year of my dates table. And I'll close that bracket. Oops. Okay, beautiful. Now we've gotten that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'll do the same thing for a previous month, right? So I'll do a month over month of my downtime hours as well. So I'm doing the same thing by doing new measure. And I'll call this total downtime hours. Previous month equals to calculate the total downtime hours, just the same calculation, right? And I'm doing a parallel period of my dates last month minus 1, and then the month function. And then I'm just going to close this. Beautiful. Now I've calculated the total downtime hours per month. We can try to just also get a preview of our data to understand what is also happening. But I'll try to do the year-over-year growth of this and the month-over-month growth before we display that. And for us to do the month-over-month growth of downtime, the same calculation we used initially, right? I'm going to right-click. Please, if I get cut off at any sorry, something is so funny. Somebody said their brain has closed. Yes, the video recording will be available, but the key to every report you see out there is the DAX formula. So we're just going to create the month over month and year over year for this, and we'll call it a day. I think we've tried. We are not machines. We've actually tried. We've done a lot. So we're going to try to complete this before tomorrow. Okay. Sorry, by tomorrow. But let's do the month over month growth, because I know some persons are just on this call are just waiting for me to end so that they'll go and look at the recordings. So I'll do a new measure. Month over month. month over month growth downtime. I'll just call this this downtime. So I just doing a month over month downtime as, and then this would also be divide the total downtime hours minus total downtime same period, okay, for previous months, comma, then total downtime previous months. And I'll close this and click on enter, and then I'll do the last thing I want to do, which is our year over year growth. YOY growth downtime as equals to divide the same. Sometimes what I just do is I just copy and paste. Once you have one, you can always copy and paste. So I'm just typing this so that you can just understand what we did, right? Total downtime hours minus the last year own, which is total downtime hours. If I type SPLY, it's going to show me, and then comma, the total downtime for last year. Now click on enter. Beautiful. Now I have these ones here. We can try to now look at them, sort of like we want to explore, right, to see the information or whatever that is going on with the data as well. So if I bring, okay, let me just even duplicate what I have here. I'll just do controls. I'll duplicate this page. I'm going to duplicate this page, and we can just quickly, briefly look at what is going on here. Okay, this time around, what do I want to put? My total downtime hours this previous month, same period last year, hours, month over month, this one. So I'll bring this here in the previous month here. Okay, beautiful. I can also change all these things to percentage, right? So we're going to do that. But for in that this thing, we're going to end today's class here. Now I'm going to open the floors too. I think I tried to answer most of the questions, but I'm going to use the remaining minutes to answer questions. Okay, so somebody is asking, when do we use divide and when do we use calculate? So it depends on what you are trying to do. Somebody said can we get the DAX formulas? The DAX formulas are in the drive. The PBIX, I'm going to look at, I'm going to do this one more time. I've been saying this. Come on here, just like how you downloaded the data, download this. If you download this and open it, this is what you are going to see. Okay, you're going to see these templates. That's what I have there. So if you go through all these tables here, you will see, for example, defect quantity. This is it here. Like, see the all the DAX calculation I created. Look at it here. Everything I'm doing in this class, I've given you all the formulas, so you can always copy and paste. Okay. You can always copy and paste. Okay, somebody said, does every problem or project involve building a data model, or are there exceptions when it's really needed? First thing you should ask yourself is, why do we build a data model? So what your data modeling is there for is to reduce redundancy and sort of normalize your data. Now, if you're working in an organization, if you realize sometimes when you are working with really large data, your data load time takes a lot of time. In these cases, what can help you is building a proper data model. If you have a proper data model in place, your report load time is this thing. It's in the drive. It is called just search templates in that drive. Look at it here. Supplier quality dashboard supplier quality and performance dashboard templates. You will see it there. Is any other person not seeing it in the drive? It is in the drive. Please just check again. If you are seeing supplier data, I know there are a lot of things there, but I wanted to share all the resources at once so that everything I'm doing in this class, I've shared it already. So I hope that answers your question on this thing. Okay, how do you know what DAX combo to use and the measures or columns to derive? Good. Now, the very first thing, that's why it's important to have a list of questions sometimes, right? And another thing is you want to be able to look at your, what do I call it? You want to be able to look at your metrics. Now, what are your metrics? Your metrics are those numerical objects that you'll be performing calculation in your data. Okay, those are what your metrics are. If you look at your metrics, that will determine what calculation you want to do. And I mentioned something, right? After doing your calculation, you always want to add context, and this context we are trying to do because we want to do a comparison of last month. That is why we are doing this. I hope that answers your question. Any other question? Somebody somebody says once I say total, my brain automatically responds downtime. Oh god. Any other question, please? Any other question? Any other question? I'm about to wrap up the session here. It's been an amazing 4 hours. So here's what I want us to do, or here's how I want you to say thank you to me if you enjoyed the session and you learned something new. Go online, go to Twitter, go to LinkedIn. I'm going to share this slide in the resources drive as well, so that you can get my LinkedIn and Twitter profile. Talk about what you learned in this particular program, what you learned today. Tag me, I would retweet. Also, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and tell people to subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. I'm a big advocate for building in public, so you never know who is watching you. They might be interested in what you are building and you might get opportunity from there. So please. Okay, what are the difference between KPIs and metrics? Beautiful question. Now, metrics are those ones on your data, right? That's your, for example, if I add a sales data now, I might have my price metric, my revenue metric, my quantity metric, profit metric on that particular table. That's if it comes with your table, right? Now, when you're calculating your KPIs are those important numbers that the business will be interested in. For example, they want to see total revenue, total profits, year-over-year profit growth. They want to see things like profit margin. Those are what we call KPIs. Okay, good. Now I'll clarify how minus 90 is positive and not negative. Remember, we are dealing with total defect quantity and total downtime. Now, here's the thing. An increase in defect quantity means that what? They are recording more defects. And the problem we are trying to solve is we want to help them to reduce those defects and also reduce downtime, right? Now, the less the defects, it means that we are recording less defects, which is a good thing for the business. I hope that answers your questions, Adebayo. Okay, I've seen a new table. Yes, we've not gotten to all those ones like downtime rank. We'll get there. We just started. So we're going to create all those tables too. So you can just look at the tables I've created already. Those are what you should be looking at. But we're going to create all those other tables as well. Any other question, please, before we call it an evening or a day? What's the difference between data normalization and data modeling? Interesting. So I would sit to it, or I would take it that data normalization is sort of you breaking that table. They are somewhat similar, but the difference is that in Power BI, data modeling sort of allows you to connect that table together using your fact and your dimension table, because it's still the same thing. You are splitting your data modeling is you splitting your table into several small tables, right? So you are also trying to normalize your table when you are doing that. Any other question? And this is where I wrap up. If you have any question, please use the question channel in the chat box. I might not be able to look at my screen for another 1 hour because I have another class very soon. So please just drop you can leave your questions there and I'll try to answer. If you are going through the recordings and you also have any questions, drop them. I'll try to answer all of them. Thank you so much for joining this session, and it will not be possible without you guys. And I mean, I still have over 100 persons on this call, so that means what we are doing here, we're not playing at all. So thank you everyone, and I will see you tomorrow, same time.